Hello, and we're happy to greet you at the Forum of Teaching Excellence. I know that we have about 2,000 registered participants, and while the others are joining, we can now start. And good afternoon again, and we greet you at the Forum, which is a part of Teaching Excellence program implemented by the British Council jointly with the Institute for Higher Education of National Academy of Pedagogical Sciences of Ukraine and Advanced HE. In the Forum, first of all, we have participants who represent universities which participated in the program. Of course, we're going to meet them during this two-day forum. We'll be able to meet to see the activities that were happening, as well as the challenges and the achievements that our participants had during the whole first year of the program. So please stay with us. And I remind you that you can communicate with us and view the forum itself on the web page of the forum. And also the forum is broadcast live on Facebook and broadcast live on YouTube. As you understand, you can choose any channel and be with us. And of course, we also want direct communication with you. Just remember that on the main page of the website, there is an opportunity to ask a question, both to forum participants and also to our panelists. So please be active, stay with us. And of course, it would be reasonable to introduce myself. My name is Oleh. I'm also the participant of the first year of the program. I'm the representative of Lviv University named after Ivan Franko. So pleased to meet you, and we start to work. This year's forum is also an opportunity to draw conclusions of the first year of the project of Teaching Excellence, also to share our achievements, our challenges, and of course, we're going to start from the short video about the first year of the program. Before we pass to the video, I will start from the words of our speaker, Katie. How are you going to remember our teaching in this program? Is it going to be black and white, gray, or multicolored? The answers to all these questions were the ones for the participants to find during the first year of the program, together with the speakers and program organizers. Whether they achieved their goals, we're going to see that in our short video.
What's our teaching going to be remembered for after this period we're living through? Will it be monochrome teaching, black and white, grey, or will it be colourful teaching?
The program of Teaching Excellence in Ukraine aims to improve teaching quality in the universities. The program consists of two main components. The first component is directed at the development of teachers, and this is a training component. And the second component would be the support of institutional strategies in the universities, the development and the establishment of centers for teaching excellence and professional development of teachers. During the 3 years of the program, we're going to have 30 universities participate in Ukraine. Each university enters the program as a team, which has 3 teachers and also a representative from the university's management. We continue our teamwork approach, so that is why we don't just have separate people with new knowledge or paradigms to the university. These are people joined with some obligations on the one hand, but also on the other hand, what is also important, they have some results which are partially integrated in their university. And we are moving along with this trend in the European area. And a confirmation of that is that in Roma Communique, which was adopted in December last year, a separate edition would be the paradigm of teaching excellence in Ukraine. And actually, we already have a year of this program here, thanks to the British Council. We have already managed, thanks to the problem, to try out in full the potential of mixed learning. The participation in the program won't just enable each of you to have unique experience. You'll understand how you can teach efficiently. You are going to master contemporary and promising teaching tools.
Our backpacks, but they were half empty. Step by step, module by module, we put into our backpacks creative approaches to learning and teaching, high-impact pedagogies, problem case-based learning, gamification, practical curriculum planning with technical challenges. And now we have everything everything needed for any trip or journey in any circumstances.
When we are discussing new knowledge with our colleagues, this always leads us to the transformation of our work. This is a process which was so exciting that sometimes it ended very late, but we're very impressed with the result. One of the submissions of our program is actually the formation of a community which exchanges experience, which strengthens each other. When we share experience, both parties win. In our university, there is a successful teaching excellence hub. In the framework of this hub, there were several workshops for teachers in the university from totally different specializations. And presently, we plan the creation of a bank of teaching innovations to collect unique methodologies and best cases which the teachers of Manitoba University have. And further on, we plan to move to a higher level involving representatives of university community in the Zaporizhia region. I believe that what's important in these programs is the impact on the culture and conscience, the trends which are happening. We can, at least with this community, which was the participants of the program, talk about the new values, new dimensions, about teaching in higher education.
What is the issue that I would like to address? What is a problem that we're dealing with that technology might be able to help with? So identify why you want to change something first, and then look at all the digital tools around that you could use that might be able to help you to do that.
So in this video, we could look at the experience of our Ukrainian colleagues who participated in the first year of the program. Naturally, as for their successes and challenges they had before them, we'll still talk about them more. And of course, the latest year for the educational community, not just for them, has become very complicated. It was a challenge which exacerbated issues which was already waiting for their solution. Just we'll remember the statistics. The latest survey among the teachers showed that practically 50% of teachers, their workload has grown twofold during the last year. And probably every teacher asked themselves a question: if I'm good as a teacher, do I satisfy the demands of the students and the requirements of the university? Can I become better? And what does it mean to become better? As you have probably guessed, further on we're going to talk a little bit about excellence in teaching, what do we understand under this term, and actually how it can be achieved. So I'll probably start from the experience of our British counterparts and listen to the opinion of Advanced HE representative from the UK, Doug Parkin.
Well, hello and welcome. Dobroho dnia. A very warm welcome to this short presentation on teaching excellence. My name is Doug Parkin, and my role at Advanced HE is Principal Advisor for Leadership and Management. Thank you very much to the British Council Ukraine for inviting me to give me this opportunity to contribute to your Teaching and Learning Excellence Forum. It is really wonderful to connect again with colleagues in Ukraine. I have very proud and very happy memories of helping to facilitate the Ukraine Higher Education Leadership Development Programme from 2016 to 2019. So it's lovely to connect with you again. So teaching excellence. Excellence is in the eye of the beholder. So the first thing just to put across here is that there can be no excellent teaching unless there is excellent learning. The one defines the other. Excellence is in the eye of the beholder through the lens of learning. And there is a big difference between excellence as a claim and excellence as an experience. And that's important to keep in mind. But there is nothing wrong with excellence as an ambition, because that's the thing which takes us forward. So for this presentation, we're going to look at excellence through 3 lenses, and it's important that we do. First of all, the individual teaching practitioner. Secondly, the institution, and thirdly, the sector. So excellence as practice for the individual, excellence as culture within the institution, and excellence as a currency across the sector. And if we only think about excellence in terms of the individual, then we skew the whole thing. A system needs to be in place within which excellence can flourish, a system at an institutional and a sector-wide level. And that system needs to bring with it the leadership of collective commitment. So 3 lenses: individual, institution and sector, and we'll take a look at each of those. So a few words about excellence itself to begin with. The best something can be, surpassing others. Perhaps, if you like, a kind of dictionary definition of excellence. A desired end state which we never quite achieve. So almost excellence as a human value, a desired end state that leads us on, the desire to excel, the deep roots of our human motivation, to excel, to become the best that we can be, to self-actualize. The aspirational basis for continuous improvement. Now, goals matter in business, in communities, in education. Goals matter. If we don't know where we're going, any path will do. So excellence as an aspirational basis that we can continuously strive towards as we look to improve teaching, as we look to improve the quality of the student learning experience. And yes, an overused term that's lost its meaning. And that's certainly been the feeling for some colleagues in the UK higher education system. A great deal of use over many years of this term excellence, to the point where people begin to ask, what does this really mean? Is it just creating an unnecessary sense of pressure? Do we have a real vision and purpose about what this is? And within any organisation, a commitment to something like excellence or quality that's then only matched by marginal or less inspiring products and services will quickly dilute the very notion of excellence. So we need to be precise in what we mean when we use such a term. And there you have a quote from Ed Catmull. Ed Catmull, one of the co-founders of the animation company Pixar, that is now part of the Walt Disney Group. Excellence must be an earned word. So not excellence as claim, but excellence as experience. So let's use and enjoy a metaphor, an analogy, if you like. And here we have a pair of shoes that we're going to use as a metaphor. So are these shoes excellent? Are they excellent? Well, let me see through the eye of the beholder. Through the eye of the beholder. Well, they are made of the finest materials, and they're tailored by the most eminent cobblers. So the very finest materials go into these shoes. And they're the right fit for me. Not for anyone else, but they're the right fit for me. They fit me really nicely and meet my needs. They've been tailored. They've been tailored and crafted with my needs in mind, with my size, with my style, with everything that I need in mind. They come with a very strong and prestigious brand, highly regarded, very fashionable brand. And that brand is important to me because the label matters. The label really matters. They're flexible. They're flexible. They're not just rigid and solid. They're flexible. They move to match my movement. They're flexible. They're fit for purpose. So you know what? I need these shoes to go running. I need these shoes for running in. That's the kind of shoe that I need. They're fit for the purpose that I need them for. And they've been delivered with care and love. The people who put these shoes together, selected them for me, have been looking not just to please me, but to really delight me. And finally, just about finally, they will take me where I need to go. So thinking about the outcome, the destination, my success, these students will take me where I need to go. And very last of all, the price is right. I can afford them. The price is right. So a metaphor of excellence, and we could apply all of that to learning and teaching and student experience. Great materials, a really good fit for the student, carefully tailored. The brand may matter to some students. Flexibility, fit for the purpose that I need them for. Not one thing, not another, but my needs, delivered with real care, attention and love. And they'll take me where I need to go in terms of employability, outcomes, success and destination. And yes, the price needs to be right as well within whatever system that may be. And yeah, through the eye of the beholder. And this is from a paper by the late Professor Lewis Elton, and still an extremely good paper in terms of thinking about excellence in university teaching. Looked at from the learner's point of view, only such teaching as can produce excellent learning can actually lay claim to excellence. So teaching is for the other before it is for the self. There can only be excellent teaching if there is excellent learning. A little illustration, this balance between teaching and learning that I like to use is simply to do with tying shoes. And the first voice, the voice in blue there, is a voice of frustration. I taught them how to tie their shoes, but they still can't do it. And the second voice is the voice of someone supporting learning. I helped them learn how to tie their shoes, and they've been doing it ever since. The responsibility moves to the learner, and I facilitate the process. Okay, let's come to this model and look at each one carefully. So the three lenses, once again: individual, institution, and then sector. Excellence as practice for the individual, excellence as culture within the institution, and excellence as a currency across the sector. And a quote from Ralph Marston in the middle there: excellence is not a skill, it's an attitude. It's a commitment and a belief. There are lots of skills that help us to achieve quality, but excellence is an individual and collective commitment that propels us there, that's empowered by leadership, by and through leadership. So individual, let's just take a look at a couple of ideas to do with each of those in the time that we have. So excellence as practice, and here are some thoughts about good practice. It encourages student-faculty contact, that relationship. It encourages cooperation amongst students, that relationship. It encourages active learning. It gives prompt, timely, useful feedback. It emphasises time on task, so learning through doing. It communicates really high expectations, our belief in efficacy and the student's abilities to succeed. It promotes and respects diverse talents and ways of learning. A wonderful list. And just to look at the dates highlighted in red there, 1987, these are the things we've known about good practice for 30 years, and in fact for a good deal longer. So in terms of excellence, our responsibility is to build and renew that good practice with each generation of teaching practitioners. The last good practice I've cheekily added myself. It values reflective practice and development. And to teach with care. To teach with care. The C, care and compassion. People won't care what you know until they know that you care. People won't care what you know until they know that you care. Does my tutor have a genuine concern for me? Does my tutor know my name? Does my tutor include me? A, to ask and then listen. And this is a quote from Arthur Carron and Robert Sund, going right back to 1971. The questions a teacher asks can make the difference between an antiquated wasteland and an exciting learning environment. Next, R for reality. Make the learning real. Make the learning real. Bring the outside in. Developing work-ready graduates. Real, authentic learning based on real-world problem-solving skills. And then lastly, E, to explore before explaining. The opportunity to explore before the explanation comes. And here's another quote from Thomas Schul, and this takes us back to 1986. It is helpful to remember that what the student is actually more important in determining what is learned than what the teacher does. So what the student does should come first. Okay, so teaching with care. Okay, let's move to the second of these three lenses, to the institution and excellence as a culture. Excellence as a culture. So excellence is not a skill, it's an attitude. Those words from Ralph Marston we saw on the previous slide. So there are many skills that we can practice and we can learn and we can develop that enhance quality. But excellence is a fundamental individual and collective commitment. So in institutions, there can be strong management systems, standards, processes, frameworks that help to assure quality. But over and above that, we need inspiring and empowering leadership to propel us towards excellence. So to really achieve excellence as a culture at an institutional level, we need to create that environment where others can succeed. So what is your educational philosophy, and what are you doing to really bring that to life? What is your educational philosophy, and what are you doing to bring that to life across the institution, within departments and on individual programs and modules? And without that life, all you're left with is that well-managed environment that may not inspire. And another thing to do with culture, so excellence as culture, does it do what it says on the tin? Does it do what it says on the label? So fine words are simply not enough when it comes to culture, particularly a culture of excellence. We don't believe what we're told, We believe what we see, feel, hear and experience. So with a learning and teaching culture, it may say students are at the heart of everything we do. But what actually matters is the reality, the lived experience of the students themselves. So in terms of culture, don't tell me, show me. And sustainable transformational change is both cultural and emergent. It emerges from the culture. A key message then for senior leaders: if you want to achieve teaching excellence, focus on the culture. Things like teachers feeling empowered to take risks, actively encouraging creativity, giving people the tools that they need, rewarding success, and developing a teaching faculty that takes a real sense of pride and enjoyment in achievement. Okay, does it do what it says on the tin? Let's finish by looking at the institutional level. So, excellence as a currency. Excellence as a currency. And this brings us to the fundamental question, and a long-lasting question: what is higher education for? What is higher education for? Because excellence must be framed around purpose at the sector level. What is the purpose? Is higher education delivering what we need and what we wish for? Culturally, economically, politically, socially, environmentally, all of those considerations. And how well aligned is excellence to the individual and excellence to society? Now, as this lovely 4-quadrant model illustrates, and I won't talk you through it all, this is from the former Department for Business Innovation and Skills in the UK. And it's a lovely, elegant model because on the one hand, we have benefits to society. On the other hand, we have benefits to the individual. We have benefits that are expressed in terms of the market, perhaps financial benefits, and then other benefits that are non-financial, possibly more virtuous benefits, you might say, and expressing those. So the purpose of higher education will not be one thing. It will be a combination of factors that match the context and the environment. But at a sector level, we can only frame excellence as a currency if we have an understanding of the purpose we want education to serve. As a currency, we also need to think about consistency. Consistency across the corners of our sector. So does a subject level degree in one institution at a particular level match the same degree at the same level in another institution? Have you got that crossover? And does the quality of the student learning experience point towards the same kind of excellence in every corner of your higher education sector? Don't get me wrong, these are hard things to achieve. They're challenging things, but this is what is meant by excellence as a currency at a sector level. So lastly on this, everybody needs a framework. Everybody needs a framework. Frameworks that can capture and express this currency and also structure and safeguard excellence and purpose within it. So in the UK, we have examples here. We have examples of frameworks that work at an individual level for the individual teaching practitioner. Frameworks that work at an institutional level in terms of helping to support and assure quality, and then frameworks that operate at a sector level. And you can see at a sector level the Teaching Excellence and Student Outcomes Framework, the TEF as it's known, that's actually expressed in terms of bronze, silver and gold awards, the kind of awards we would associate with competitive activities or environments. But it was actually put in place as a system to help to better support and enable student choice. So once we have a purpose that excellence is going to serve, we need frameworks to capture and express that framework and then to safeguard that purpose within it. So there we are. 3 lenses: the individual, the institution and the sector. Excellence as practice for the individual teaching practitioner. Excellence as culture, a led culture, inspired and empowered within the institution, and then excellence as a currency across the sector we're operating in, with consistent frameworks that support and enable that. Okay, I'm going to finish with one final provocation for you, and some words here from Seth Godin. In a new age of global challenges, a new age of global challenges, everything from climate change to infectious diseases to profound health inequalities to the rebalancing of global economic markets. All of this, these new global challenges, we need to support a new generation to go further and faster than ever before. And our job is obvious, as the quote says. Our job is obvious. We need to get out of the way, shine a light and empower a new generation to teach itself and to go further and faster than any generation ever has. And if you think about it, the skills learners are going to need for this future, we may not even know what those skills are yet. All we can do is open the doors to learning. Open the doors to learning. That is our duty, and that is where real excellence lies. So, thank you very, very much indeed for listening. Dziękuję za uwagę. Thank you very much. Thank you once again to the British Council and others for making this amazing forum possible. And thank you to the 10 universities that have participated in the first year of the Teaching Excellence programme in Ukraine. Thank you very much indeed for listening. Dziękuję. Thank you.
Дякуємо Дагу Паркіну, головному експерту з питань лідерства та менеджменту
Parker, for the chief expert for Advanced HE, for presenting to us the best understanding and interpretation of excellency. And we have read the page of our forum, and we can see a lot of comments and congratulations, and thank you very much for joining us and being so proactive. So in your comments, you also will be able to ask questions to the participants of the forum and to the panelists. And the excellency is us, is our empathy, a behavior, and actually caring about those who are listening to us. The excellency could be developed, and the universities have to work on that. It's about the educational philosophy, its implementation in the educational establishment. And excellency is understanding of the society and the outlook to the educational sector and setting up certain framework. And we have an opportunity not only listen to the experience of our British colleagues, but also to discuss the Ukrainian reality in the professional development of the teacher and how the Ministry of Education has an impact on it, the National Quality Assurance System, and the educational establishments themselves. And we can introduce to you the first panel discussion, professional development of the teacher of the university, the key players. And I would like to give the floor to the moderator of this discussion, Ms. Svetlana Kalashnikova, the director of the Higher Education Institute of the National Academy of the Pedagogical Sciences of Ukraine. Good afternoon, esteemed participants of the forum. We would like to welcome you very sincerely, and we would like to welcome the representatives of the universities who, together with us, have been studying for the first year of studies and very successfully completed it. We would like to introduce the participants of this panel to you who are going to participate in this discussion. Ms. Oleh Sharov, the General Director of the Directorate of the Specialized Education of the Ministry of Education of Ukraine, Elena Yeremenko, the Deputy of the Head of the National Agency for Quality Assurance, Ms. Elena, good afternoon. And also here in this studio, Mr. Yevgen Platikov is with us, the head of the project office of the University of Nizhyn, named after Gogol. And also online, we have Elena Guzar, the head of the Center for Professional Development of Ternopil National Pedagogical Institute University, named after Hnatyuk. Good afternoon. Dear colleagues, as Ms. Olga has already mentioned, our first panel is going to be dedicated to the questions of the professional development of the teachers of the universities in Ukraine. And the answer to the question, who are the key players and who impacts this process in Ukraine? And prior to asking the first question, and I would like our participants to answer it, I would like to appeal to the participants of the forum who are with us today. During this panel, dear colleagues, we are going to launch the online voting. And we would like to hear your answer to the following question. Who is the key player for professional development of the teachers? And here, we would like to give you several options for an answer. Ministry of Education and Science, national agencies, management of the university, the teachers themselves, or the students. And the question is going to be posted in the comments. And please look at your page and maybe reset it, and then you will see this question. And while we are maintaining this dialogue in the studio, please give your understanding and answer to this very important question. Dear colleagues, now I would like to put a question to you and learn your opinion about the question which we have posed already. Who are the main players in Ukraine who have an impact on the professional development of the teachers of the university? Mr. Oleg, please. Thank you very much, Ms. Svetlana. And to my mind, first of all, the most important key player who has an impact on the professional development of the teachers of the university is the university as a corporation per se, as a corporation which unites the heads of the university, the scientific research workers, the teachers, and everybody who has a certain place in this university. Secondly, these are the students who come to the teachers every day, and they have an opportunity every day to actually use the professional excellence of their teachers. And then the Ministry of Education, the National Agency for Quality Assurance, and other stakeholders. So I would like just to suggest that we do it this way. And Ms. Elena, what is your opinion? Well, it's quite logical that I agree to everything Mr. Oleg said, because if we actually look at the etymology of the word, the players, these are the people who participate in this process and might win or lose. And this is the university. Oh, it's an interesting comment. The image of the university. And actually the students who would like to be enrolled in the university and who are voting with their legs or hands or whatever, and also the ministry, National Agency for Quality Assurance, and the qualification agency. I would say that they play the role of a referee, I would say, rather, because we actually set the rules and certain requirements to the work of the... This is a very interesting idea. And what about yourself, Mr. Oleg? I would like to expand this list, because, well, there are professional associations as well. This culture has not been yet developed in this country the way it has been developed in the Western countries, but it's also a very important player in this field. And also we can think about the business as well, because especially those who are promoting their products, which help to improve the professional level of the teachers, the publishers of the literature, relevant literature, they are also playing proactively in this field. Miss Helena, and what is your position as far as your ideas about this question is concerned? And I would like to thank you very much for this question. And while I have an impression as of today that one of the main players is a student, because the student is a consumer of the professional approach of the teacher to his or her work. And actually we can establish a partnership dialogue between the student and the teacher, but actually the effectiveness of the learning of the student actually is a marker of the professional work of the teacher. The student, as a consumer, chooses the university, and respectively, they actually put the markers. And that's why the students well, actually depends on the professionalism of the teacher, and the effectiveness of the students' learning depends on the professional development of the teacher. We have widened the horizon of the answers to this question, but it's very important to hear the ideas and thoughts on this issue from the participants of our forum. Please vote. And my next question, first of all, is about the following, and I would like to ask my colleagues who represent the national level in this process, the core ministry, the national agency. What is the role of the ministry in this process, Oleg? And maybe today or in the future, in the light of the development of the new strategy, what would you tell us about it? And what is important to know, understand, and plan in this area? I think that the key phrase here is going to be the following. The Ministry of Education and Science shapes up the national policy in the area of education and science, and in particular in the area of higher education. It's a key phrase which gives an answer to a lot of these questions. The ministry does not have too much control functions. Mostly it works in the area of organizational activities, but actually the higher education do more organizational work. But actually the Ministry of Education gives answers to a lot of questions, but it creates the national policies and legal framework. And if we are talking about teaching, about professional development of the scientific and educational personnel. So the Ministry of Education develops the legal framework and regulations, which has been amended a lot within recent years. In 2015, we have amended the licensing conditions, which have liberalized the area of improvement of professional development of the teachers. And also in 2019, we have updated the procedure of the professional development, and it gave an opportunity to each university teacher to decide on his or her own how, when, and where they would like to improve their qualification. And it has to be done in a mandatory manner. The Ministry of Education of Ukraine, and I would like to thank for the support of the British Council in this work, completes its work on development of the professional standard of the teachers and scientific research workers. And we have taken into account the proposals of the universities, also took into account British experience and the expertise which was carried out by the core organizations of Great Britain. And we hope that in spring this professional standard is going to be published, and it's going to be a very important brick in the building of the system of the professional development. The professional standard is going to include certain competencies, learning outcomes, which the teacher needs to become modern educator and actually to demonstrate some excellency. It does not mean that each teacher has these skills, but those who do not have these skills have to improve their qualification and maybe self-education could be applied here as well. And also we are developing the draft law of Ukraine on education of adults, and it will give an opportunity after it is going to be passed. And this is not going to happen very soon, but I hope that in 2021 it is going to be passed, and it will give an opportunity to have a different look on the professional growth of the scientific research and pedagogical workers, and to look at it through the lens of the lifelong learning and the continuous professional development. Thank you, Mr. Oleh. And I would like to specify one thing, because the educational community of the higher educational establishments is waiting for this new strategy of the development of higher education to be passed, where this vector is going to be reflected there. If so, how it is going to be done? In general, the community of the universities, the scientific research workers, look at different angles at this issue. And this is one of the most important stakeholders of the higher education, and it's an internal one. And this is a very important stakeholder, and around it, around development of the stakeholder, around its opportunities and potential, well, a lot of things are concentrated in the draft law. And I hope that it is going to be reflected in the final version of the strategy, and we will have to give an opportunity to each teacher to plan his or her career, professional growth, and scientific development. But we have to create the opportunities to promote the best scientific research workers and teachers to the managerial positions, to create the pool of this stuff. So when, let's say, it is time to elect a rector or the head of the chair, we will be able to have several candidates who will be quite strong and who will be quite well respected in the universities. That was a very important comment, and I hope that this will open new perspectives in this area. Elena, the question is to you. What is the role of the National Agency of the Quality Insurance in the area of professional development of the teachers? And maybe you can tell us about the experience of the agency you have acquired already, because you have been working for quite a long period of time already. And in this respect, how do you evaluate this process in Ukraine at present? What risks can you see? What perspectives can you see? Are the problems which have to be addressed? And what your agency is doing in this respect? Svetlana, thank you very much. You have asked quite a lot of questions, but I would like to be concise and give you as much information as possible. Well, first of all, what we have done, this is, first of all, a provision for accreditation of the educational programs and the human resources, where we are talking about the policies of the universities, and how university chooses this stuff, how they motivate this stuff to become better, to be excellent, and to improve their professional, and how they encourage them, how they motivate them, and how do they celebrate the best practices. And this is being evaluated in this criteria as well. This is the level of the accreditation of the educational program we are adhering to. But actually, the national agency works not only on accreditation, but it's a huge system of communication and various educational projects. As far as the educational projects are concerned, these are the training of the experts who evaluate the programs. And these are not the people who have been working in the educational standards or scientific research staff or representatives of the employers, and who are offered to evaluate the educational programs and curricula of other universities. It's not the case. We are training them all the time. And quite recently, we had the training for the heads of the expert groups, because at the hearings of the committee recently, the university said that there are a lot of things have been improved in the attitudes of the experts. And these are the representatives of the universities who have to go back to their universities and expand the best practices about the professional development and excellency in teaching. And communication is very important aspect. The national agency has developed the online courses which deal with the improvement of professional development and educational excellency, and also in the area of evaluation of the national educational programs, which promote the improvement of qualification. And the national agency emphasizes the informal component of improvement of the teaching excellency. This should not be narrow approach. Olga was talking about it. It could be formal aspect thereof, and there could be indirect understanding by a teacher of his or her place in the specific educational program in the life of the university. And actually, I like even things which might seem not very positive comments about our national agency. Well, people sometimes say, like rank and file people, not the experts, but not those who participate in the process, but actually the rank and file workers of the educational sector said, well, what this accreditation about? But teachers have to understand that they will have to meet the experts. They would like to, they have to find out which place they hold in the national program, how they provided the information to the students about the course, how the teachers provide these courses, teach these courses, and what the teacher does to improve the situation in the educational establishment. I think that you have emphasized very important aspects. This priority, professional development of the teacher, is not actually only part of the accreditation as far as this criteria is concerned. But for me, it's very important that it is transversal in the whole process. And obviously, it's a very important component of movement of the university, the expert, and the development of the national agency. Dear colleagues, for me, and thank you very much for your answers, but it was very important for me to hear, and I think that this is a very serious message about our movement forward in the positive manner. And in the answer of Mr. Oleh and Elena, we heard the idea of promoting support of this process without dominating, without regulating, without controlling, but this promotion is our joint obligation. Now I would like to ask Yevgen and then Olena. Maybe you would like to add or comment these answers on behalf of the university. Maybe there are certain expectations which our esteemed representatives of the ministry and the agency have not touched upon. And maybe it is very important to emphasize those aspects also. But the main things have been mentioned. But at present, we all live in the period of changes. And the university always want to have the quality communication on behalf of the ministry, on behalf of the agency, because it's difficult to really understand what's going on at present. And that makes the work of the university difficult, because this communication is not as high quality as we would like to see it and have it. So there is a need of wider communication, especially when these new things are being implemented. Well, you know, the emphasis have to be put, the exchange of experience has to be carried out.
And now to the comments and answers of our colleagues. Well, thank you, Svetlana. Just a remark on my side, if I may. I agree with the comments to your questions. The only thing is that this word forces that Olena said, it is really so. For some reason, the teachers enter the accreditation process with the universities using force as the main word, which already has a somewhat not positive connotation there. And we really would like for the university teachers to have the word wish, not force, upon them. The willingness to show their professional development, to show high results of their students, the willingness to be responsible, to be really responsible and comply with the criteria of excellence. Then it is going to motivate. And finally, it is going to make us be better than the university across the road. And I think that all the partners, all the players here on this field of excellence have to aspire for that, so that it is a great motivation to be better. Thank you, Olena. And it's great to hear that our participants also get involved in this conversation. I have two small comments here, which I would like to read now. Maybe you're going to reflect on those comments as well. Unfortunately, I cannot see all the last names, so colleagues, I'm sorry. Technical, I cannot say who the comment was from, but the comment is the following. The first comment was actually to the answer of Oleh. University as corporation. Okay, that's right. But in practice in Ukraine, university is a consumer of budget funds, and depending on the sum of these funds, the results of studies are minimal. That's why employers and universities live in different economic systems. Without changing economic condition, nothing is going to happen. Oleg? Well, thank you for the comment. It's very interesting. But you know what, Svetlana? Actually, as they say, a lot is correct in that, but it's not the whole truth. The truth is that starting from 2020, the financing of universities was transferred to formula distribution. And in this distribution, we gradually increase the share of university achievements. Starting from the end of 2021, one of such achievements which is going to be taken into account in the distribution of financing would be the employment of graduates. And immediately I'd like to calm everyone down. Nobody is going to change whether they're employed according to their degree. It can be interesting just for very, very separate specializations, like, for example, teachers in secondary schools. But in general, we are just interested whether the graduates from universities can make it to the legal sector of Ukrainian economy and work as employees, or quite possibly work as entrepreneurs, or maybe they make their big business structures, maybe they serve somewhere. But at that, they are still in the legal Ukrainian economy, they pay taxes, and live a life as a good Ukrainian citizen. And actually, not as much as the university prepared the person to such life, to such earnings, to such economic activities, this is also going to soon become one of important factors for distribution of state financing between higher educational establishments. And we hope that no later than in the end of 2021, it is going to happen. Okay, thank you, Oleg. Colleagues, we have one more comment from the participant. If the teacher, him or herself, doesn't aspire for teaching excellence, the efficiency of external encouragement by other players really lowers. Do you agree with that? Yes, okay. Well, probably so. But on the other hand, each teacher is a part of a certain teaching team, and in this team there are leaders. I hope that they can always help this teacher. So, Lena, yeah. And probably the key word here would be the interaction. Correct interaction, which is built in the university, and the systemic nature of the work. Because when we talk about aspiration, non-aspiration of a certain teacher, it is probably that somewhere, depending on the way the person got into a workplace, it wasn't taken into account. Or, for example, they looked better with documentary parameters, or maybe they presented themselves like a really a rare specialization why he or she was invited, without taking this component into account. That is why when we're talking about the way how this can impact, how the line ministry can impact that only interaction with the university, when these partners see an opportunity to communicate such situation. And here very often in the trainings, Svetlana remembers in our university in particular, we work together. There was this word from our international partners, well, you have to get rid of this ballast, but this is not our practice to get rid of somebody. Our practice is to help a person to become aware what his or her interested in the improvement, not just the corporation. The interests of employer and the university have to coincide in this aspect. Okay, thank you, Elena. Thank you, colleagues and participants, for also commenting on that. And presently, I would like to remind you have an opportunity to ask the question in the comments. We'll try to avoid them as much as we can, at least within the time limit that we have. And I would also like to pass our second question, where the key role belongs to our universities. And this question sounds like the following, like how should we balance the efforts from this point of the university in general and a specific teacher in particular for in case they are not improving the teaching? I would like to invite them to answer this question, but first a small comment that Yevgeny and Olena represent present lady teams, which were with us in the first pool of our program, and according to the results of participation in this program, they actually presented institutional strategy of improving teaching in the universities, and in my opinion, it was very inspiring, and I'm going to really advertise this result. And in the aspect of the training which took place, maybe such changes which took place in universities, what is your answer to that question? Yevgen, please. Yes, thank you. Well, actually, I cannot speak for everyone. I can talk about my university and our results in this project, maybe a bit wider as well. I'm going to explain why I'm saying that, because there are also such projects, for example, School Teacher of the New Generation, which was supported by the British Council. They allowed to work out a somewhat new model, at least for us it was new, when the university, and let us say the administration of the university, when they are not trying to impose some innovations, but instead they create situations of cooperation on, let's say, grassroots level. So between the chairs. So when there are groups with joint goal created, and the role was actually to stimulate this group to move on. And actually, it was the procurement of equipment or something like that. We can actually move on and introduce this innovation when the small group of people promote some idea, and then it grows into something new and actually moves the whole university ahead. So actually, the answer to my question is in saying that such mechanism as horizontal connections, horizontal networks forming communities which are joined by common interests. Now, this is a very efficient mechanism to actually improve that. This can be used efficiently and it really works. Okay. And again, to continue your tale about the experience of university, could you please name a key change which took place in your university after participation in our program? Well, actually, there's the understanding that, for example, creating centers of excellence could be the step which actually is going to change something and change not just the approaches in general, but the understanding of the issues themselves, how you should treat professional development, in which way you or where you should move in this direction. So that is why actually this idea, which has spread there, it is a very important result. Probably here we have to emphasize that when we talk about creating center of excellence, it's not just organizational structure. It is actually the core, which is a carrier of this paradigm and this philosophy in this aspect. So I thank you. Okay, Olena, your answer to the question, just in the light of your experience and those changes took place in your university, what you rethought and what kind of challenges you had and what you managed to overcome, Olena. Thanks. Well, we entered this project with a wish to create a Center of Teaching Excellence, a project for professional development. And thanks to the British Council and to our British colleagues, Institute of Higher Education, we managed to do that, to learn and to work on the development of this center. And it has been well said that there should be a systemic way. The first thing that we did, we sat at the round table with all the centers that are there in our university. It's Center of Quality Assurance, the Career Center, Successful People, to create an ecosystem which would work for the professional development of a teacher and for the studies learning to be productive. And actually it was very good because we all put out all our cards on the table, our puzzle pieces. We drew a picture and each one understands which puzzle pieces belong to whom and who has which responsibility. And this picture has to be like that. So actually to be unanimous. Partnership and all that. So what do we do? What are we doing now? We actually address the student we use the concept of tutor, working all over the world as a psychologist, as a consultant, but also as a peer, maybe even a year older, but who already knows the system and who is going to be a respected advisor. So we want to uh, go as a team of tutors on the one hand. On the other hand, we're now working on creating this website, the managed work of centers that we already have, research centers, which are there at the university, because we understand that the professional way in the excellence of a teacher is a big part of this research. And when we see the need of the teacher, it is there. For now, we don't understand how a student should be involved, but they also should be involved. So that is why, studying these research centers, we see that they also have good students working there. So we want to introduce these students to each other so that they pass the experience of this cooperation. And in the end, we're also now working with the teachers. In each university, there is a club of very strong teachers who work for great learning results of their students, but very often colleagues do not know about them. So we want to have this center of teachers, which are going to share their practices together with the students, because a professional teacher who really works with excellence has a student is a very powerful partner, and they are able to achieve a great result. And only then we can become aware that a teacher is professionally excellent when a student with high result is teamed up with this teacher. And this partnership is very important for us. And this is an ambitious goal of our project, to show that professional excellence, teaching excellence, means high result of students' learning. And the student is not just somebody who sits to the other side of the screen, but student is also somebody who was conscious in choosing the discipline because that was lacking for his or her knowledge system. So before us, we also have a very big challenge, because lots of young people say, like, why do I need to go to the university? Because there are lots of online courses free of charge. And now our big task is to actually get closer to the young people. We have to explain to them that university means systemic knowledge, systemic of professional personality, and only professional teacher and a strong student who is with you in the audience can actually, in the classroom, can help you make your profile professional. And then, of course, you can take extra things. You can change the puzzle pieces in your picture, but still, you're going to draw this main picture in diversity. So that is why our Teaching Excellence Center also wants to help to build the system, to put it, to transpose it on the system of the student's vision, so that they don't just evaluate the student, and it's not just student coming after teacher, but have we given the student certain objective values and instruments which, according to which they can actually evaluate that whether the teacher has understood the aspiration of the students they work with. So partnership, this dialogue, the basis of which there is trust. We're not thinking that this field of players, professional excellence, should absolutely be grounded on that. This is trust, first of all, and then responsibility of the teacher, and also the wish of the teacher to be in the dialogue with the student. This creates corporate culture, institutional culture, and then it is a system of partnership. There are high results and leadership of the teacher, student, and the university. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Olena. But now I would like to have a clarification with you. When we talk about the practice of our universities, and the university which Evgeny represents, and your university, according to the results of program participation, you have made it to institutional strategy for development. And one of the aspects of the teaching excellence improvement in higher education, that's a certain innovation, because you didn't have strategies like that before, institutional level. How do you evaluate this tool? What kind of expectations you have about it? So how important it was for you, and how do you focus the further fate of the strategies? Is this going to really work? Or this was the cool skills that we acquired during this program you had? So just a couple of words about the strategy. Well, it would be very unpleasant if it was just a cool skill that we acquired. But yeah, it was cool because the work was done in a very substantial way. But we hope that now we can say that, this is what we're just planning, this is the vision, how it is going to work. But saying how actionable it's going to be, it is still hard. But again, we have rather big expectations there because the directions which are written out there and in which way they're written out, they enable us to promote professional development rather widely on different levels institutionally. So that is why we have some serious expectations. Okay, thank you again for being honest in your answer. Yeah, Olena, what are your expectations about the institutional strategy of teaching excellence in your university? I think that, well, we also really hope that we're going to get a positive result, that we are going to create this mission of sustainable participation and cooperation with all the stakeholders, that we are going to bring it to life. And what's the most important is that strategic willingness of the university to improve the very process and the results and the study results. And obviously, we should also talk about intercultural things and inclusive things. So here we have lots of things emerging, which will also take the experience of cooperation that we have. But still we're asking for it because, actually we are now looking at those through the prism of this strategic task that we have, improving teaching excellence and also student learning, because a student is not just a random player here. We're not just talking about the results of studies that we have to deliver. For us, it is very important now, and we really want the student to be our partners so that they really become interested. And actually, this trust that we started to work with, that to engage the students with. And also in our center, we have great young people who have just graduated from our university, who are totally motivated. We really want to start from these things and give them that impetus. We are totally confident, and we have programs, and we're very thankful for the partnerships and for all the help. We're very open. We really want to listen, hear, and ask the questions, and we want to be heard.
Thank you, Olena. And I would like to emphasize here that in your case, I believe the strategy gave us an opportunity at the institutional level to include the key markers which are going to give direction to this development. And now I would like to again ask our esteemed participants who are working with us in the online mode. Dear colleagues, we asked you to give the answers to the questions using the online voting. Please, in a couple of minutes, we would like to see the results of those voting. But now I would like to ask Oleg and Olena, could you add and provide some comments on this discussion? What is the balance of the efforts of the university and the teacher? What is important here for this interaction at the institutional level? Not been mentioned here, but will be important to emphasize here. Oleg, please. Thank you. I believe that it is necessary to underscore two words which have not been mentioned in this discussion: academic freedom. Those are the words. In the educational discourse, we quite often talk about the autonomy of the universities, but we do not use the word academic freedom of the teacher and the student. But current universities, modern universities, start not from the autonomy thereof as a corporation, but it starts with the academic freedom. And the professional growth, continuous professional development, scientific development of each of the teachers is an element of his or her academic freedom. If the teacher understands his or her professional mission, what would like to improve in this profession, then he or she is interested in the university not as an employment, a job, but a way of life in the academic community, then it's quite normal that such a teacher using academic freedom is developing its learning path and the path for development of his or her qualification. And the task of the ministry and the national agency has to respect this learning path. And if the teacher understands what he or she needs, will do it better and achieve better results, well, without any directives from the ministry. It was hinted on, but I would like to follow up. This is the feedback with the graduates. Olena emphasized that their graduates are working in their university and they're young and proactive. And that's very important when your graduates are going to follow you as a teacher. And this is an individual who will give a very sincere account of the situation with the teaching excellency in the university. And they will help to improve this area in the university. And maybe they would be giving these comments and as independent people and those who really demonstrate certain career growth. These are very important things which have been added. Academic mission, academic freedom, the feedback. These are the key elements here in this process. Dear colleagues, now we have about 6 minutes for this panel, and I would like to attract your attention and your and our panelists. I would like the attention of all of you to the results of the voters. Please, the organizers, show us the results of the voting. Who is the key player for professional development? I cannot see that very well. Could we blow up a little bit this picture? Or just provide a better focus so that we can see the results of the voting? Great. So here we have the following situation. Our colleagues believe that 36% of our colleagues who were voting believe that university is the management of the university is a key player. 32% believe that the professors, teachers, now on the 28 students, 8 ministry, and 1% believes that the national agency is a key player. I would like to ask you to provide your comments on the results of this voting, whether they coincide with your vision, or maybe to a certain extent they are a little bit unexpected. I'm absolutely satisfied with the results. It's normal. The ministry develops the national policy, but in this case, the role of the ministry is fulfilled. But then university have a say, and they are the key players of the professional development of the teachers. But the fate of the management, teachers, and students is an interesting sociological experience. But actually, almost the same weight is being given to the management, students, and the teachers. I think this is an inspiring trend. Yeah, and that's a very interesting trend because, you know, traditionally, we believe that management of the university is very important, but please look at the role of the students. The students are becoming as important, and this is very important for the future. And Olena, Yevgen, please, just a couple of comments so that we can fit into our schedule. This confirmed everything we discussed at the beginning of this discussion. We put the same emphasis at the beginning of our discussion. And secondly, this gives us a very good understanding of our audience. The audience listens, hears, and understands what happens in the trends in the teaching excellency. You were not surprised? Even the low percentage of votes which was given to the national agency, it's okay. Agree to Olena, and this actually demonstrates the synergy which exists, and we have to have a certain balance between the key players, and we can see who is playing which role. Well, I mean, the 30% more or less management of the university, students and teachers per se, and this is exactly what happens in real life, and we cannot really claim that these are the wrong results. Well, Olena, and what about yourself? Did you expect expect such a result of the voting, or maybe you were disillusioned a little bit or encouraged the other way around? Well, first of all, I'm very pleased to see that the students gave a very high percentage, because actually we made the first step to reciprocate the students. And now we see that our choice was correct. And these three groups, management, teacher, and the student, demonstrate the need for the partnership. And this is what we are aspiring for. This is an ideal which really is a building block of the institutional culture of the university. And that was very inspiring and encouraging. Thank you very much, Elena. And I would like to thank all the participants who participated in our voting and who gave their own comments. And we would like to complete this panel. And I would like, again, to announce the things which we are discussing here and repeat the emphasis we have put here and we attracted your attention to. Dear colleagues, within the first panel discussion, and a dialogue here, which was dedicated to the professional development of the teachers, the key players in Ukraine. We had an opportunity to speak with Oleh Sharov, who represented the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine, Olena Yeremenko, who represented the National Agency for Quality Assurance in Higher Education, Mr. Yevgen Plotnikov, who represented the Nizhyn State University, named after Mykola Gogol, and Olena Huzar, who represented the Ternopil National Pedagogical University, named after Hnatyuk. In our discussion, we touched upon very important issues which are related to the key players who have an impact on the professional development process in Ukraine. And also we talked about the role of the ministry, national agency in this process. Another aspect of this dialogue was a question about how all the efforts are to be balanced, the efforts of the university and the teacher to move this process forward. And summarizing our dialogue with our colleagues, and I think it was a very interesting and important dialogue. So my summary would be the following. So all the participants have emphasized the importance of interaction and partnership in this process. All the participants and also the voting supported this idea that in this process, the university is a key player, student, and a teacher. And their motivation and their competencies and their preparedness to improve the professional development are the basis of the movement forward. It was very important to hear that our national agencies, national institutions, actually we see the policy of promoting this process, supporting this process, and that's very important. And this also testifies the trends which we can see today are very valid. And the experience which was shared by the participants of the university is very demonstrative, because it tells us that we can do it. So I would like to wish success all of you, and thank you very much for this discussion.
Дякуємо колегам за чудову дискусію. Дякуємо нашим слухачам.
We would like to thank our colleagues for an excellent discussion, and we would like to thank all the participants of the discussion who were asking questions and voted. And we have an opportunity to talk to Mr. Oleh Sharov. Mr. Oleg, good afternoon again, and we would like to very much for joining us. During the panel discussion, you have mentioned the following. The main task of the Ministry of Education is to shape up the national policy. You also mentioned that at present, the professional standard for the teachers of the higher educational establishments is being developed. Give us more details about it. What the universities can expect from this standard? What is going to be part of it? First of all, I would like to underscore that university should not be scared. It's not going to be a directive which will require the management to immediately change everything in the university, to restructure the universities, to change everything in it. The professional standard has an absolutely different purpose. The professional standard, it's a list of the competencies which are necessary for the modern teacher to work at the high professional level. And each teacher, each chair, have to read this standard, can analyze their work and activities, and to identify the directions of their growth. Nobody is excellent, but everybody has to aspire for excellence. Our universities love directives, and they usually are respecting them very much. That's why the question is not by chance we are asking about the standard, and maybe you can share some subtleties and nuances. What should we take into account as teachers? The teachers have to take into account the competencies, and well, they should see whether they have to improve these competencies. And this is actually the basis for developing the professional development programs for the future years. And again, the standard is about ideal professor, teacher. Each of us are aspiring to the ideal, but unfortunately none of us is. Well, actually, it's great that we are aspiring this excellence, but the university have to take it as a, a purpose in the future. You also mentioned the law on the education for adults, and you said that this law is also going to include the peculiarities of improvement of teaching excellence. The law on the education for adults is a fundamental document, and when this draft law is going to be submitted to the parliament, it's going to be discussed very seriously by professionals. So now I would not like to start those discussions now and here, but it is very important that we will define at the level of the law what is the education for adults, how it is going to be organized and financed, and where the responsibility of the employee and employer start and finish, and where is the responsibility of the state. And this draft law on education for adults is based on. I would like to look at the comments and questions from our participants who are participating online. People are asking about academic freedom, whether you can comment how the universities have to develop this academic freedom in the teaching space and the university space. Traditionally, when the ministry carries out various activities, we are usually quite often say that autonomy of the university and academic freedom is the same thing. University cannot be effective without autonomy, and without academic freedom, the teacher is not effective. But to the extent the ministry is working on the development of university autonomy, so we ask the management of the university to develop the academic freedom, because these two things cannot exist without each other. And we cannot use 100% of the opportunities we have. We have some comments, and this is what we started our discussion with. The state has to be the one who develops the policy, who sets the tone, including the professional development of teachers. And we have an interesting comment as for the professional development of the teachers and the importance of the social status in the society, the prestige of the profession. Well, please, what is the view of the ministry about it? How to improve the prestige? And there are several components in this process. Some of them are obvious, and each professor, each educator will tell you that the wages of the teachers and the professors do not promote, the respect of the society. But a lot of teachers take a proactive approach to this problem, and with their professional activity, actually improve their material, so to say, situation and increase their wages, which they get in the universities. But the key issue here is the fact that each teacher is an independent professional of a high level. And if people consider themselves to be the scientific research workers and the teachers, and that one has to understand that the society has a right to expect you to take a choice as a professional of a high level. Thank you very much, Oleg. And well, the standard, a lot of questions are asked about it. People are writing that the standards is necessary. Everybody can wait when it is actually is passed. And in this context, I would like to ask you, when we are talking about the educational programs, they are being evaluated by the National Agency of Quality Assurance, but the professional standard of the teacher, where the Ministry of Education is going to participate in evaluating of the teachers. Do you know other bodies which might control, help, and we can use other synonyms in this process? When we are talking about control, so this is not about the ministry, because the ministry practically has no control functions about today. And I think that this is a very positive situation today. As for the control over the improvement of qualification of the teachers, this is the question of a chair, first of all. Then the question for the management of the university, its administration. But in some cases, it could be the question of the National Agency for Quality Assurance. But the less it is being dealt with by the control agencies, the better. The absolutely good situation is when we have appropriate rules of the game and the teachers actually abide by these rules. Oleg, and let us dream a little bit together. One of the first videos we watched today was provided to us by our British colleagues about excellence. And what about excellence of teaching for you? Who is actually an excellent teacher? Well, we have to learn from our British colleagues. This is my comment. The notion of the excellence, and actually when we are talking about quality, it's a question is not about something which has been created and is never changed, but excellence is to be improved all the time, constantly, continuously. And actually the understanding and notion of excellence grows together and improves together with the teacher. And, the person who starts his or her academic career and has certain level of excellence, and then later this excellence is improving, and at each phase of the career the excellence understood differently. Thank you very much for the participation in this discussion, and thank you very much for the answers. And it was very interesting for our colleagues to hear firsthand information about the professional standard of the teachers, of what we expect in the nearest future. But now we are going to move forward, and I would like to thank you very much for your participation, and we move forward. And we are going to open another discussion. We had a discussion with the representatives of the Ministry of Education of Ukraine. We were talking with the representatives of the National Agency for Quality Assurance. We talked about the main stakeholders, those who have an impact, who shapes up professional excellence of the teacher and improvement thereof. So maybe we can talk to the teachers themselves. What is their vision and view of the challenges which they faced without the last 12 months? Which tools, methods were used by them, what they are using at present? And after all, whether it is possible in general from the position of the teacher to provide high quality education in a distance mode under current situation. And this we are going to discuss during the second panel discussion, transformation of teaching, challenges and opportunities. And prior to that, maybe the last question to Mr. Oleg, just not let him go, just like this. What could you wish our participants in their future development of teaching excellence? Well, first of all, they have to stay healthy and take care of themselves, and this will give an opportunity to improve your professional excellence and reach your goals and objectives. Thank you very much, Oleh. And now we have lots of comments and wishes from our participants to the professional standard, and we are going to collect them, and we are going to pass them to the Ministry of Education. And I hope that they will be useful.
And now I'll have a chance to give the floor to our colleagues in this second panel discussion on transformation of teaching, challenges and opportunities. I'm reminding you and encouraging our listeners to actively use the webpage of the forum to ask questions to the panelists, not just to the panelists, but actually we're going to collect all the questions and pass them to the stakeholders. And please be active. We'll be happy to be in touch with you all the time. So now I give the floor to the moderator of the second discussion, to Katerina Trina, who is the head researcher in interaction department at the University in the Institute of Higher Education, National Academy of Pedagogical Sciences in Ukraine. Actually, the panel discussion is about transformation of teachers, challenges and opportunities. Greetings, dear participants of the online forum. We greet you to our panel discussion, which is dedicated to the transformation of teaching. So today we are going to discuss those opportunities and those incredible challenges which are in front of the teachers, our participants of the program. In particular, Vladislav Panchenko, who is the head of teaching excellence in the University of Railroad Transportation. Hello. Tetiana Konovalenko, who is the Dean of Philology, Department Melitopol State Pedagogical University, named after Bogdan Khmelnytsky. Greetings, everyone. Tetiana Marynych, who is the head teacher, the chair of Model in Complex Systems in Sumy State University. Hello, everyone. And Olena Yermoshkina, who is head of chair of Economic Analysis and Finance in the National Technical University, Dniprovska Polytechnica. Thank you and greetings, everyone. So we are starting our discussion. I'm asking all of you to get involved in the discussion, ask questions, write comments and wishes on our website. And as for you, colleagues, I have the following question. During the last year became the year of unforeseen challenges for everyone, for the whole education system. And we were forced to reformat our teaching. How have you managed that? How we overcame these challenges? So, Elena. So, yeah, Elena, this year we faced unforeseen and very complicated challenges when we were forced at one moment to fully transform our teaching procedure. We had to adapt to it, and the students as well. And of course, we faced the problems which we had to gradually deal with, find efficient tools to solve these problems, and even to teach each other to actually overcome these challenges. Okay, thank you, Tetiana. Yes, that's true. This year has become a year of challenges. And you know, there is this motto in our period. I mean, Moodle has existed for a while in universities, at least in most universities. And we understood that Moodle is not the only way. And teachers actually became more knowledgeable with a huge number of platforms. They became much more advanced in digital technologies. The audience became even, the classroom became even more student-centered because teachers ask students, and because students are our is the Z generation, and they know it all very well. And I believe that this year helped us to become closer to the students. Okay, thank you. So, teachers, a question to you. What are the new methods? What are the new instruments which you had to master to work with online audience? Okay, Vladislav, yes. Well, thank you for the question. It is very interesting and multifaceted. It is true that during the last year we mastered a lot of instruments, plus each teacher chose the instrument which fit him or her the best. And these are the tools which involve efficient audience to the discussion. That's the instruments which allow to implement a problem-oriented approach in studies. These are the instruments, technical instruments, which allow to engage as much audience as possible into active work and brainstorming. Of course, not all these instruments the teacher had in the traditional format. So that is why, I mean, the mastering of these instruments, of course, requires time. And I think that probably the first should be methodology and then the instrument that implements it. So yeah, there are lots of tools that teachers had to master, especially in our university, but I think the others as well. Tetiana, what are the new methods and new instruments that you faced in your practice? Thank you for the question. I totally agree with the colleagues here in saying that on the one hand, we became closer to the students. On the other hand, we faced a challenge like keeping the attention, and what's the most important, increasing the motivation of students, namely in the online space that turned out to be much harder. And yes, for example, for me, it was a bit easier that I already had materials developed on the online platform. Well, this turned out to be not enough. We had to master different platforms, starting from Prezi and PowerPoint, to provide high-quality digital content, to add a visual component, to add interactive things. As for the methods, apart from those which Vladislav has just named, I would also single out the approach of micro-studies, because the format of lecture, 1 hour, 20 minutes, that's something very hard online. You have to divide 15 minutes of theory, then practice. And it is this practical approach, which is this, as they said, became our main challenge, because a student on a daily basis has to be shown where and how they should apply the results of what they have learned today. Thank you. Olena, what new methods you have faced at the program on teaching excellence? What are the new things that you have taken into your practice? Well, the main things that we have seen is how do we compose. What was actually different this year, and this selection of these practices, selection of different. So actually, we also had different methods and forms for cooperation, work in mini groups, and those additional instruments which we started using, for example, like Microsoft Teams, Zoom, they started moving after us, after the audience allowing us to break more to mini groups and manage these mini groups and create the content which can combine online and offline, because we still partially gave some of it for independent studies, then also added opportunities for us to combine, as Tetiana said, various practical and theoretical sessions in a way so that it is the most interesting for the student, so that we haven't so that we could face not these black squares in Zoom, but with interactive sessions. Tetiana, maybe you would like to share your discoveries in the age of online studies. Yes, I will share those, because I have very rich experience, namely this year. We acquired a lot of that experience, and actually it was mostly due to teaching excellence program, because we had some experience in the university of this school teacher of new generation, but this digital environment shifted the accents. For example, just one specific example, the experience of living library. which I heard from progressive teachers, I couldn't understand how you could use that in digital environment. And the fair of our interdisciplinary modules, which was offered by Katie Rice and Carolyn Brennan, turned out to be such a great fit to put library into an online format. We understood that those books have to meet their readers. It was great on Zoom. That's just one small example, but very rich experience. And the tools, I mean, each teacher actively used that in their own professional growth. Okay, thank you. So, colleagues, I'll allow myself to quote information about a foreign university, American University, Berkeley. Very recently, they announced that they refuse from a plan to build a big lecture audience, because a lecture audience is for direct communication with those who acquire higher education become an outdated tradition gradually. So what are the opportunities, what are the prospects, and what are the challenges that are open before us, because the traditional audience remains in the past, or it doesn't remain in the past? What do you think, Vladislav? Well, that's a very interesting opinion. I think that it is very relevant now, because traditional teaching, in my opinion, gradually moves into the past. What they wanted to note, we will have to get rid of big classrooms. If you want to compete on a high level with those MOOC platforms, which now exist, if the universities want to provide high quality and flexible education, which is going to be accessible for the student in the classroom and beyond, plus if we want to keep health and life of students in the pandemic, then of course we have to leave that big classroom. We have to understand that the world is a bit wider and it doesn't close down in the audience, and we can actually provide those lecture services in distance learning in this online format. So we have this experience, and thanks to the participation in this program, we are going to expand our experience in this issue. I totally agree with the colleagues from Berkeley that really this moves away. And of course, not all skills can be acquired in this way. Lecture and theory skills can be acquired through this online environment. Practical things, no, but we can actually combine them organically. Okay, colleagues, you really should agree that, let's say, the fact that we're going to work online and the traditional audience potentially stays in the past actually puts up a question of quality. Is it possible to provide high quality learning, high quality education online? Or actually this is a certain risk? What do you think, Tetiana? Thank you for the question. On the one hand, I agree that if we talk about lectures, then of course they turned out even greater online. We can use lots of great instruments that are going to help to perceive information in a better quality way and involve the audience into its understanding. But actually human interaction, at least on a psychological, evolutional levels, we often say that we are social creatures, and that is why I think that, I mean, this whole format of mixed learning, when we mix online and offline classes, this is what the future holds. Thank you, Tetiana. Well, you know, the format of a traditional lecture really becomes outdated, and the last year has shown that a lecture can be interactive and should be interactive, because there is no monologue here. Every time the things that the teacher says should get a feedback from their student. And sometimes, and the thing is that we do not provide ready-made knowledge. We show the path towards knowledge. So I totally agree in saying that really we have to activate this process of teaching. I mean, it's not just delivering lectures, it is interaction with our students. Thank you. Olena, could you please share your opinion about new opportunities and new challenges? Yes, of course, I agree with the colleagues in saying that education is not going to be the way it was before the pandemic. And maybe it's really our chance to improve the quality, which gradually we felt was already becoming outdated. And in this aspect, I would like to stress on two positions here. The first one, from my experience, I can say that delivering classes online, we have better attendance, at least in our university, because in last years, practically everyone works. And even when we talk about interactive sessions, lectures, even if these are black squares, we still can interact through respective tools like surveys or tasks or the like. And the second question that we raise here is, of course, the technical equipment of this, because unfortunately, presently, most teachers use their own resources to deliver this education. And this is a challenge to the university about changing the priority for the development of technical and material base. Thank you. Thank you. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the support which the universities provide to their teachers in these transformative times. And now I will ask our participants of the forum to actively get engaged into the survey. On our webpage, on the webpage of the forum, there is a link. We really ask you to share your thoughts and ideas with you. And using this occasion, I'm reminding you once again that there is an opportunity to ask a question, to write your comments and opinions about what we are discussing now. Well, actually, it is a discussion. We don't have a dispute here. I believe there is a unity in opinion here. And coming back to the topic of teaching in online format. What do you think? What do the teachers need? What did they lack in the process of this transfer from traditional audience and traditional lecture to this global option of online studies? Or maybe, so what do the teachers need to be efficient and interesting? Yes, Tetiana, yeah, thank you for the question. The colleague has already noted about the technical support. I can say that Sumy State University, it has supported technically, and there were some additional premises organized to the recording of online lectures that the teachers could use. As for actually what is lacking there, I would say that a lot of time, additional time, of teachers goes for forming new content. And one teacher cannot manage this task. And here, the practice of our international colleagues, where there are teaching assistants which help in creating this digital product, we can say that not just lectures and practical sessions, but digital product. Here, it seems to me, we need help from the university.
And there is some interesting information. In the fall of 2020, the Times Higher Education has polled about 500 teachers participated in it, and they shared their experience. And they told whether they were supported by the universities in the process of transition to the online teaching. And the majority of those polled, approximately half of them, said that they were supported. They felt that support. But let us look later at what were the answers of our participants, and in which areas did you feel the support of your university? Technical, informational, material, or psychological? And when we are going to get some results, we are going to discuss them. But what, to your view, what needs to be provided to the lecturer, the teacher, what he or she needs to become interesting and provide high quality education online? And to be interesting in online format, it is necessary to be more inventive and creative in comparison with the work in the audience. And there are one needs more tools, more opportunities which they can use. And the transition was so quick that for a certain period of time, the teachers could not cope with them, and they had to address these issues on their own. And they need support, and they could be provided by the Centers for Quality Education of the universities or departments of teaching excellency or some similar departments in the university. The teacher could not be left to face the problem on his or her own. I believe that it's necessary to develop the ICT competencies. In the law of Ukraine on higher education, Article 59, and in Article 60 in the law of Ukraine on education, we have to give a priority to the professional development of the teachers, especially under conditions we live in and work in now. Students need the lack of competences in ICT, with the teachers. And as soon as the students feel that, they become very condescending to the teacher. And in this case, we have to work on the development of the ICT competencies so that we do not let our university down. I know that you are heading the Center for Providing the Quality of Education in your university. Maybe you can share the experience of working in this area in your university. Well, it was painful. The transition was painful and quick. But after the teachers have adapted to the current reality, we started the process of creating of online content, educational content, and maybe this is the most difficult aspect in this process, to create a quality online content. A lot of time is needed for that, and definitely a lot of support has to be given in this area. We have developed a series of video instructions to our teachers who were teaching at the YouTube channel of the universities, and they could use it any moment. And thanks to the participation in this program, we also regenerated the Department of Teaching Excellence in this university. And at present, it got a second wind. And we have developed this strategy of development of teaching and learning. And we are going to implement this strategy until 2025. And we are carrying out series of webinars and seminars for our teachers. We did not expect that many attendants, but these webinars were not mandatory to be attended, and this was quite, optional. But the teachers demonstrated that this question for them is extremely relevant, and any support for the teachers, especially to help them develop the quality educational content, and these skills are absolutely necessary at present. And Olena, could you share your ideas and your thoughts about what the teacher needs to get adjusted and to work on high quality basis during this new epoch? I believe that in this case, the most important thing which we are teaching the students is the willingness to change and the willingness to learn, and the proactive attitude which is demonstrated by the majority of the teachers who are looking proactively for the sources of information where one could learn. And they apply to the Centers for Professional Development, which were developed within the framework of this program, of the Teaching Excellence program. They, ask them to provide them assistance in the development of their skills. They are trying to get advice, and they understand the necessity of the development, a continuation of the development. And this tells us that the task of those who can provide such support, methodological support, we have to do that and to be very proactive in this process, because the users, actually the consumers, already can perceive this innovation appropriately. At present, maybe teachers were not that willing to participate in these programs, but quite quickly they started to understand the importance of such an assistance. And actually, if we compare the lectures which were delivered at the beginning of this process and to compare them with the lectures which are being delivered at present, are very different in terms of quantity, quality, the content, and the interactive components. And the teachers need this methodological support and the feeling that the work they are doing is absolutely necessary at various levels. It's necessary for the students, for the relevant units, and they get support from the management of the universities. I would like to ask a provocative question. Did you receive the support from your universities? Did you feel this support in your universities, Tetiana? Yes, Katerina. Yes, it's true that support actually was given in each university, but there were different kinds of support. But in our university, within the first weeks when the lockdown started, well, we were desperate. But then universities started to work on these issues, and they started to develop the hardware. You know, like we've got the Moodle platform, and there were were using the Microsoft Teams and Big Bang Battle. The free resources were used. But within this year, we also have revised the system of professional development of the teachers. It was improved, and taking into account the real situation, they gave us an opportunity not travel somewhere, but to get this professional development courses in the university. But also, we have created a hub of the teaching excellence. Some teachers don't want to leave the comfort zone, they are not willing to change, and now these teachers are being told that if you don't change, you won't be able to move forward. One has to change because usually the students are ahead of us, usually. And the teachers who are prepared to change, who participate various projects, and including the Teaching Excellence Program. Now we are sharing our experience, we accumulate this experience, and we collect the experience of each project, and we are trying to use it at the level of the university so that it is useful for everybody. And dear colleagues, we have carried out online polling, which was dedicated to the following question: which support have you got from your university in the process of transition to the online teaching? Now we will see the results of this polling, and there they are. So, technical support from the university was felt by half of those who have been participating in this poll, and 60% had obtained methodological support. Material support was given to 30% of the polled, and 30% also felt the psychological support in their university while they transitioned to the online teaching. How could you comment these results? Are you surprised by these results, or actually whether they fit into the picture you have in your university? More or less, maybe the results mirror the realistic picture. In our university, it's true that in the majority of cases, this was methodological support, material support, but actually the teachers need to be supported by efficient and effective education. And during this process, we have to provide the teacher more kinds of support, including the psychological one, because the tension is huge. And actually, the teachers are lecturing, and then they prepare the content for the next lectures. And we have to accelerate provision of this support to actually respond to the change of reality. But the teachers who don't want to leave the comfort zone most probably won't be able to teach efficiently in the future, because all of us, for professional growth, we will need this impetus. And I can see not only the challenges in the pandemics, but also some opportunities to test the application of the new technologies. Olena, I would like to tell you that, first of all, in our university, we also felt all sorts and kinds of support, and at different levels. And as it was mentioned by Tetiana, we used the Moodle, and also we got the the free access to Microsoft Teams as a corporate system, and it gave us an opportunity to have a comfortable transition. We did not have to join the 40 minutes Zooms and things like that, but from the technical point of view, in this aspect, we had felt the support, but psychological support in the most of the cases was given by us to each other. Actually, this function was given to the head of the unit: motivation to learning, the motivation to development of new content, motivation of teachers to create the comfortable transition to the new conditions, and to psychological acceptance of working under the new conditions. In our region, our university is considered to be the best in terms of coping with the challenges of the pandemic. And this support was comprehensive and sufficient at that particular moment. But I agree to what Vladislav said, that the load on the teacher needs to be dealt with. It has to be adjusted. It has to be revised, because alongside with the transformation of the presentation into an interactive content, there exists another aspect. In parallel, the teacher is trying to learn some technical issues. As Tetiana said, the tradition, when there is a teaching assistant, the one who helps from the point of view of issues, even, division into groups, breaking up into groups, and telling students which groups they are going to be included in. It's a very important issue, and it's a relevant issue. It has to be studied, discussed, and in the future, it has to be taken into account when we are, creating the workload on each teacher in each university. Thank you very much. We are discussing the issues which are related to the level of support, types of support, which were provided by the universities to teachers in the process of transition to the online learning. Dear colleagues, and apart from the questions we planned to discuss, we have the questions from the audience, and they are very interesting, and no matter what, offline learning, online learning, well, we are teaching, we actually take into account the needs of our esteemed students. And there is a question from the students, and they complain about the following. They lack the live communication with the teachers. Tomorrow, you will have an opportunity to listen to the opinion of the students about the changes which have occurred, and we are going to dedicate a discussion to this topic. So the students do not have this live communication, which we need as the social creatures. And they complain that this live communication was substituted by a lot of online lectures, a lot of online tasks which have to be performed to be evaluated. So how can you comment it, and how can we deal with this issue? Yeah, this is a question which has no answer yet. We are working on it. We understand that we are not creating the conditions of learning, but now we are trying to install web cameras into the audience, so that the teachers would be able to teach from those rooms. But the screen creates a barrier, and one cannot transfer the emotions through the screen, and one cannot feel the atmosphere. An example: after January lockdown, I was conducted a lesson, and it was an interactive one, and the students were leaving the audience, and they said, thank you for this lesson, and it inspires one. And while I start thinking what could be done about it, now I understand that interactive methods have to be improved. While reproductive kind of activity and illustrative kind of activity won't work, it should be interactive, online, offline, but it should be interactive. Now we have a comment which deals with the question of support. and of the students' perception of the online education. I quote, support of the university during the distance learning was not sufficient, though the situation made the teachers to work on looking for this instrument independently to provide a real interactive approach. And the problem up to the present is the digital poorness of certain students. How can we resolve this problem? Yes, it's a huge problem, especially for the regional universities, where in certain specialities, like, for example, Dnipro Polytechnics, there are a lot of students who do not come from big cities, and they don't have access to the high-speed internet. And again, this is an additional requirements to the teachers so that they construct the contact so that they can provide opportunities for all the students use it. And this problem, this issue, has no systemic solution, because actually this should require a national program implemented to provide the high-speed internet in all the localities of Ukraine. And it should be done not only to develop the communication, but it is necessary to provide the high-quality education. We are going back to the issue we were discussing as well from the beginning, that education is not going to be the same as it used to be in the period before the pandemic. It's a strategic task for our country, for our state, to develop the network which will give an opportunity to provide a relevant content. But the teacher has to be able to construct the contact so that the students, irrespective of the digital opportunities, to get a quality education. We are leaving the comfort zone, both the teachers and the students and the state. And there is another provocative comment to this opinion. We talk a lot that we have to leave the comfort zone, we have to change and move forward, but maybe we should not do it so radically, but maybe we should expand the zone and area where one feels himself or herself comfortable. It depends on the perception, how we perceive it, whether this is expansion or leaving the comfort zone. If we perceive it in a positive manner, like a expansion, and we provide the support to our students, and we are telling them that this is an expansion of their opportunities. So we have embarked on a positive path. Vladislav, I believe that the problem needs a comprehensive resolution. And sometimes the technical support the students have is not sufficient under these conditions. And our university thinks that we have to consolidate synchronous and asynchronous education. If the student was not able to attend the lecture using digital environment, well, they can join the synchronous education, to join the Moodle system of education, and actually cover the content within 1 week. I don't think that there are people who cannot get access to the internet during the week. If people would like to continue their education, they might, find an opportunity to use the digital opportunities within this week. So I think that we have to consolidate asynchronous and synchronous education. This is my answer. Ms. Tetiana, yeah, I have to add to the comments my colleagues provided, that apart from the necessity to have the good internet network and the opportunity to get the materials after the lecture has been given, actually there is another problem, the availability of hardware. and actually the access to the software and for the students, and the university has to provide an access to software, because previously only in certain laboratories there was access to the software in the university. Our university was working proactively in this direction during the last 12 months. And the second item is the access to hardware. And if we are talking about the experience of our university, so the students from the regions which did not have an opportunity to get access to internet or some hardware, they were given an opportunity to come to the dormitories. And also they were provided with the auditoriums for individual work. They were given the opportunity to get knowledge, not only like a sort of passive consumer, but also as a person who participates in research and in education proactively. And apart from the access to the hardware, it is very important to hear the student. And this tool of evaluation of the student, which all the university use at present, in our university this year was used very proactively, not only to evaluate the student, and the students evaluate the teacher, and the teacher might be happy or not very happy, but we were using the tool of evaluation to improve the content, the delivery of the material, and the interaction between the students and the teachers.
Won't it create the risk that some students might criticize teachers who are too curious, let's say? I mean, there are always risks, no doubt. You just have to treat these or those challenges. Yes. Colleagues, what do you think? The prospects of full switch to online education, it's full digitalization. Is this going to be real? Realistic, or probably this is an achievable future? What do you think, Tetiana? Well, saying that it's an achievable future, I can't say that, because I don't know what kind of scenario is going to unfold in humanities development. Of course, it is clear that we can do almost everything, but I believe that probably it's going to affect higher education if it's only going to be online. I don't think it is unacceptable. Human communication is the biggest value, and the very ambience of classroom offline is something that cannot be replaced. A digital classroom is not going to model it. Of course, I know that there are great VR opportunities as well. As I'm a teacher of English, I understand that now you can study foreign language like that. You can remove psychological barriers due to these virtual capacities. But still, I understand that without live communication, I mean, a human is a social creature. We have to take that into account. So that is why I wouldn't say that we'll be able to have only online education full. Okay, colleagues, then what are the risks that distance remote online learning brings? What, except this direct and live communication between the teacher and the student? What else concerns you? What have you faced? Which complications? Olena, I wanted to note, I mean, during the previous question at least, one of the key competences which were determined by the Economic Forum and the education trends, this is the development of soft skills. That is, it is the communication. And as I'm teaching a soft skill discipline, I feel that you cannot bring something that requires personal communication, just cannot deliver it. And even if we actually take children to kindergarten for their socialization so that they tell them something there, a student who is ready to go out into the labor market without acquiring these socialization skills, this actually causes a huge psychological risk for the student, him or herself, because the unreadiness for direct communication, self-presentation, protection of interests, I mean, I can see that most students, just like most children, they're already in the gadgets all the time. And it's more convenient for them to communicate in the gadgets because this is impersonal communication. But when they face personal communication, here, this is where we have to help them to overcome these barriers. Okay, thank you, Tetiana. Well, I also wanted to add to the comments of Olga. I see the risk, this low readiness of our students for independent learning. We faced that before. And if we actually put that online, our students are not ready to switch to the self-organization control. And maybe this mixed learning will allow us to make this transfer less painful. And the second issue is about the resources, the availability of resources in the university to ensure this quality content. We have just been for 1 year on this way, and we all have to formulate that. And the lack of these resources is not going to provide what the students expect. And in the end, we're not going to have that result of educational process we expect. Okay, thank you. We have lots of questions at such limited time, but still, we have very interesting question. Maybe somewhat of a challenge. Look here. How do you preserve the balance between gamification of teaching and also its academic nature, systemic nature? Isn't there a risk to move towards entertaining component instead of preserving this educational component, Vladislav? Yes, there are some risks here. We shouldn't overdo it here. And we should build the content so that it involves contemporary students and the audience for whom it is more convenient to perceive information this way instead of huge textbooks, 300 pages each, which should not be the main point, but just a source of information for the student. And here, this teaching excellence moves forward. This is how you build this training course when you use organic gamification, and whether they haven't fallen during the usage of this or that tool, or whether the quality of teaching has lowered. Because even though we have switched to online space, we still have to preserve high quality of education in any case. When overdoing it, we can actually lose the situation and lose control over it. So I believe that here teaching excellence goes forward. Okay, thank you, colleagues. Well, just some conclusions. What is important in the process of moving to online courses? There are resources that we have. There is the support which our universities provide. There is the readiness of the students for such format. There is the wish of teachers to leave their comfort zone and to use those instruments which are there at their service in the online world. And I would like to ask you, we still have a little bit of time, summing up our interesting and well-founded conversation about teaching in these turbulent times, switching to online education. Could you please voice your opinions, wishes, and comments to the participants of our forum? Olena. First of all, I would like to thank the British Council and Advanced HE for equipping us with the instruments which we were able to bring to our teachers ourselves, improve ourselves in this aspect. And I wanted to say that even if we look at the Chinese language, for example, the crisis is denoted in two hieroglyphs. There is a threat and an opportunity. And our perception of the situation, which we have now as an opportunity, gives us this huge resource for further growth, personal growth, teaching excellence, development of universities, in the way so that they become competitive, not only in Ukraine, but also on the global market educational service. Okay, thank you, Tetiana. Yes, I also would like to thank the British Council, the Institute of Higher Education, for the opportunity to get involved in the program, not just from the point of that I have found out new methods and ways, even though that's also important, but the understanding that we have this community, the community which shares the same values, which has the same pains and problems, but the fact that you're not alone, that you're in the community, and as they say, when we are together, we can do everything. Thank you, Tetiana. You know what Oleh has just said? It's actually the same that I had thought about. You have to uh, turn problems into opportunities. It is true that this year was hard, but actually, I have to say that for us it is important that this system, human plus uh, a machine, doesn't replace human plus human. Even though those who watch our forum, we have a screen between us, but still we remain a society, we still communicate. That is the highest value, is not to lose our communication, to actually keep to the balance without going into extremities and not to despair, but keep moving. Okay, thank you, Vladislav. I would like to thank the colleagues from the British Council and Advanced HE from the Institute of Higher Education for the unique opportunity to participate in this program. And presently, it has become not just relevant, but super relevant in these contemporary conditions that we are all in now. All people in education are now. We are joined by one thought, by the same goals. We live through the same problems. And there was this interesting question put: how and what should be the way for the teacher to be? And I personally believe an average teacher just tells, but an ingenious teacher has to inspire. So I believe that if we want to be real teachers, high quality teachers, online or offline, it doesn't really matter. We have to inspire by our example. So everyone to be teachers who inspire. Thank you for your comment. I'm reminding you again that we were discussing the transformation of teaching and the prospects, possibly the risks, or maybe new opportunities which are revealed before the teachers and students when passing to online or mixed learning. And we had our esteemed colleagues, teachers, experts who from their own experience shared their thoughts and comments about the way how this transition took place and is still taking place. So thank you for such interesting and fruitful discussion. And to stand up to the occasion, I would like to stress that you shouldn't switch off from our channel just yet. Now you're in for very interesting and very fundamental interview with a participant of our program, Tetiana Marynych. You're going to have a chance to ask her some additional questions as well. So please get involved into the discussion. You should leave your comments, thoughts, and wishes, colleagues. And I would also like to wish you that in the process of teaching, which still continues, which is going to continue even this week, so that you also remain creative, positive, healthy. That's very important nowadays. And so that you have the resources and the creativity which allows to interest and inspire the students for communication and for the study of your disciplines. Thank you.
Дякуємо, Катю.
Thank you, Katya, and thank all the participants of the second panel discussion. And I believe that the participants of the second panel discussion were also the participants of the program of Teaching Excellency. And 12 months ago, this had become a challenge for the university, and the universities and the participants started to get transformed. And now they get advantages from those situations, which has emerged, and now they can share their achievements with us. We have a lot of comments on the site, we have a lot of questions, and there was a wish so that the teachers who are working would share their experience and knowledge. And that's why we invited Ms. Tetiana to this discussion. She is a representative of the State University, and please tell us about your experience. Good afternoon. I am teaching since 2010 in Sumy State University, and I am teaching the subjects which are related to the economy and the analysis of data, economic modeling of processes. That's it. And the last 12 months for your teaching was really very complex for us, and teachers faced a lot of difficulties. What difficulties faced you, and what did you have to overcome? The biggest challenge, and I've mentioned that already, was developing the motivation for the students, not only to kind of maintain their attention and to make them, participate in the research, not simply learn, but participate in the research. And I was trying to resolve this challenge using the skills I have developed during the participation in the program of the British Council. I was using various tools for interactive teaching, also using the tools for teamwork, and also research of not only the learning platforms, teaching platforms, but also business platforms where the students will be able to apply all the knowledge in practice. And that was the biggest challenge, to what to do so that the students will understand that things they are doing today will be necessary for them in their future life. I hope you were able to overcome the challenges. A lot of people from the academic community are watching us. And Ms. Tetiana, please tell us what can you share with us from your experience, some cool cases which might be used by other teachers? The recommendation number 1, don't be afraid to change. The second recommendation, number 2, well, look for the people who think alike in your universities. Join the programs which will be offered by the Centers for Development of the Human Resources. Join the educational programs of your universities. Join the educational professional programs which were offered this year, and there were a lot of them, and not only in the educational environment but also the business environment. By the way, I've got a lot of new knowledge from the business webinars, which during the pandemic became free at last, and also the platforms. From my point of view, well, the platforms were very important to analyze the data and also to overcome the challenges, competitions between the students, where they could get a result while demonstrating their portfolio. And some students were looking at freelance platform, looked for the tasks which they can resolve, and they will be using them later in our courses. And the last question, what inspires you to improve your excellence? Well, what I'm inspired with? Well, actually, I always have a desire to learn new things in my life, and that's number 1 item. But I love people, and I love communicating with people, and I love communicating with my colleagues, students. I'm always asking them, what should I do to improve this situation and to improve their situation? And one loves the job. And when one gets a positive response to one's efforts, well, one gets inspired. Well, you inspire us, and you inspire the colleagues who are watching us, and I hope that the cases and the challenges which our colleagues were talking about will become the inspirational to people, which will inspire the teachers to be excellent ones. And we came together at this forum to discuss the excellence of learning and education in the higher education. And we would like to thank you very much, and we will move forward again. And now, as we promised, we are going to share the cases of the participants of this program. And then we are going to watch 3 videos, which you are going to watch. And after that, these 3 videos were prepared by the participants of the program from 10 universities who participated in first year of the program. In these 3 videos, the participants of the program share their cases. The first one was how to build the aircraft in the conditions of the flight. Ostroh Academy is going to share this case. The improvement of the course of learning of teaching excellence, the successes and the failures of Lviv University of Ivano-Frankov, and the Nizhyn State University named after Gogol is going to share their case. So to watch the videos for those colleagues who are watching us not from the side but use other social media. So please look at the schedule of today and you will see the 3 windows, the main broadcasting where you're watching us and additional windows. So we are going to be broadcast in the same manner, but after you watch the video, you will have to choose the case which you will want to get the detailed information. So let us watch the video. I am Dmytro Shevchuk. Good afternoon. I'm working in the National University Ostroh Academy, and I would like to invite you to watch the presentation which is offered in the framework of the Forum of Excellence of Learning and Education of the British Council. Together with my colleague Roman Shlig, we offered the topic which we named how we construct the plane, aircraft on flight. And this is not by chance. At present, 12 months ago, all the universities of the world has faced the same situation. It was lack of definition and also the new conditions of the pandemic 2020. And all the universities had to restructure the system of teaching and to teach the students at the same time. And we were in the middle of the spring semester at that time. That's why we called our presentation the aircraft which is constructed on flight. And now we would like to discuss the situation in which we work under the pandemics in our university, the impact of pandemic on learning and teaching, and also on the impact for academic community at large. Our academy was able to actually to change the conditions of learning and teaching. In our university, we had some institutional flexibility and we took some administrative measures and we have chosen good technical solutions. Apart from that, we started the projects for those who were concerned at that time and who needed the support, intellectual support. Our university was providing to everybody within the framework of the project of Open University of Ostroh Academy. So we are going to tell you about the experience of our university, your universities, and we are going to discuss all this during the presentation and a discussion. So please join this meeting, and it's going to be named How We Constructed the Aircraft on Flight, the Challenges of the Pandemic, and the Response of the Ostroh Academy National University. Professionalism and excellence of teaching of Lviv University is our highest value. We are targeted not only to the high quality education, but we are trying to improve the culture of teaching. Improvement of teaching excellence is not just the course, but it's a creation of new culture and academic excellence. And this is an opportunity to improve daily and to start new approaches. It's a synergy of development departments of many universities and the number of projects where we participate, and it gives us an opportunity to develop our teachers daily. Well, my lecture has been ended quite a minute ago at the courses of teaching excellences. It's a unique opportunity for the modern teachers to improve the level of teaching. And for me, as a teacher and the lecturer, it was a challenge and an opportunity, because it's very interesting to work with the teachers and not only with the students. It's a very new experience for me, and I reflected very much on my work, and I hope that that was very interesting and useful for the participants and for the lecturers. A consolidation of the academic education and modern digital technologies gives us an opportunity to improve the quality of education and creates new learning environment in this student-centered environment, and the course in the very important and very useful under current conditions. I would like to recall one phrase of one of the characters, that under the current world, to stay where you are, you have to move a lot. And this phrase is very important for each of the current lecturers and teachers. So you have to make a choice whether you would like to be among those who will develop the new Ukrainian education system or stay where you are. And the course for learning, for teaching excellency, it's an opportunity to improve the knowledge and to start using modern technologies and use them into the educational and teaching space. I would like to identify 3 challenges. A lot of people at present would like to participate in our courses, and it is necessary to properly arrange them. Second challenge is the communication with the participants of the courses. One has to choose correct tools and instruments and to use the appropriate communication tool, which will be working 24/7. And also, in the third item is to properly select the speakers. And the teachers are a very demanding audience, and we have to appropriately choose the topics. Dear colleagues, I would like to remind you that we have watched 3 videos, 3 cases of the participants of our program. The first case, the construction of the aircraft on flight. This is the video of Ostroh Academy. The second case was from Lviv University, named after Ivan Franko, the courses of teaching excellences, challenges, and failures. And the third one, the distance learning courses from Nizhyn State University, named after Nikolai Gogol. What are we going to do next? At the page of the forum, you are going to go down and see 3 windows. The main one is the broadcasting of the first case from Ostroh Academy, and the other 2 windows, you will see the broadcasting of number 2 and number 3, cases number 2 and number 3. Choose the case which you will be interested the most in them and actually watch the video. And for watching the video and presentation, you will have an opportunity to ask the questions to the participants of our program. And you will have 30 minutes for that. And after that, please leave this window and go back to the main broadcasting so that we can summarize the work of during the first day of the forum. So please watch the cases which are interesting for you, listen to the presentations from the participants of this program, and definitely ask the questions which might be of interest to you. So welcome.
Доброго дня, шановні колеги.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I'm so happy to welcome you at the forum which was organized by the British Council. I'm Dmytro Shevchuk. I am presenting to you the National University Ostroh Academy. In my presentation, I would like to discuss with you the issue which was discussed so much during this forum, and this is about the challenges which pandemic posed in front of us. And also we would like to tell you how the university is trying to cope with this problem, and we are going to discuss it at the general background of the experience of our National University Ostroh Academy, the solutions, administrative decisions, methodological solutions, technical solutions which were made and introduced by our university. We would like to discuss our experience and reflect with you what happened during this year. And this is going to be the topic of our discussion. If we look at what happened, maybe we have to go back to the beginning of this process, how it happened. And quite recently, I was joking with my students, and I was saying that yesterday, actually, we could have celebrated the annual 1 year, we could celebrate or whatever 1 year of the beginning of the pandemic. On the 20th of March 2020, the government just announced the lockdown, and we had the last lecture offline at that day, and the rector invited us to the meeting. And
І, власне, тоді було прийнято рішення переходити до онлайн-навчання. Відповідно,
on the 13th of March last year, we started to use the services of our technical department. They started to look for the best solutions to organize the distance learning. And we decided that it will be Google Meet, and we have organized a training for the teachers, and we did it very fast. And also our department for technical support has developed a very detailed instructions with various options of use of Google Meet for the students and the instructions for the teachers. What happened next? I am a vice rector, and I am responsible for organizing the educational process. And I remember the morning of Monday, 9 o'clock, we start the lectures, and all the students have the keys to access the Google Meet, and I enter the Google Meet. and I'm watching it, and I'm so happy because the educational process has started and it evolves appropriately and normally. And then I looked at how the lectures were given by various lecturers, and we were concerned about the English chair and the Romance and Germanic languages. And when we watched how these lessons were carried out and the students were communicating in the English language with the teachers, and we were very much happy about it. But later we had to make a transition to the online education for the rest of the university. And we had to actually formalize certain approaches and certain things. We understood that this process might be very protracted, and we were at the beginning of the long road, which will also include organization of the examination commissions. And then we when we actually brought this issue to the review of the scientific councils, and we submitted the regulation on how we are going to arrange the education and examinations and tests during the lockdown. And it was approved by the Scientific Council. And this is how we actually created the regulations for this process.
The reason was that in 2 weeks after the start of online learning, after the lockdown was introduced, we already started thinking about additional measures. Probably Ostroh Academy is different by the fact that we have lots of projects implemented, which are extracurricular. Students participate in different events, cultural, art events, and we also decided to somehow put it into online format. And on the 31st of March, 2020, we started a new project. Actually, we also had an additional motivation that we wanted to somehow support the people who found themselves in the lockdown. And many of them were closed, we just shut down in their residence to provide them some support, in particular intellectual support. So we started the project of Open University, Ostroh Academy. This is valid until today. And within this project, we started a range of lectures, which concerned, first of all, the quarantine, the pandemic, psychological support in the condition of pandemic, also legal issues regulating, let us say, the activities of enterprises or other organizations in the conditions of a pandemic. And actually, it is rather telling that the first lecture of the Open University was from our psychology professor. This is actually about surviving in quarantine conditions. Well, it has a somewhat different title, but that was the point of it. So in a month, we had another challenge in front of us, namely how we can do the science days. I mean, we kept postponing the decision because we hoped that the quarantine is going to finish. But in the middle of April, we understood that nothing was really happening with the pandemic, that instead it was gathering momentum. We started thinking about holding our science days online. And further on, I'm going to tell you that these two events, on the contrary, gave our university more confidence because we actually discovered for ourselves some new opportunities, which we still actively use. And we have a new academic year in front of us, 2021, and the pandemic is not finishing, and we are introducing a mixed learning system. So we had to develop some institutional flexibility because Ostroh was, let us say, getting either into orange or red zone. And we could call the students to the campus and do in-person classes, or we had to have total online classes. And then we needed to create a system for the educational process which allowed to efficiently act both online and offline without losing the quality of education. So if we talk about the challenges before the university, I see several of them. So reflecting a little bit about what actually happened during this year, we can single out several most important challenges. The first challenge is associated with quality assurance for education. No matter how it is, everybody would agree that distance online learning does not give us an opportunity to have full control over knowledge obtained by the students. Looking at the previous panel discussion, which took place during the forum, I was also reading the comments, and I see that colleagues really stressed on that. How do you ensure that the students do not cheat when they're constantly like that? How do you make them keep to academic integrity? And moreover, I'm also going to add the following problem to that online learning wasn't really treated as something uh, comprehensive. During this first period, first stage, it was treated as a substitute method of learning or some kind of temporary learning. And as I said, this was a mental issue, first of all, mental problem. The lockdown significantly influenced the psychological state of our employees and our students as well. But with time, we started thinking about the way we could solve it. In particular, we envisaged it by a range of events which are going to let us keep to academic integrity. Moreover, there was a recommendation for the teachers when they had exams, it was to pass to oral survey so that they could give minimal time for preparing the answers to the questions or some other way, and this allowed us somehow to decrease the risks and that the quality of answers and studies is going to be low. Moreover, I'm going to say that in the end of the previous academic year, at the time we had just second semester finishing, in the end of the first semester of this academic year, we analyzed the exam session results. We surveyed the students about the quality of teaching, and they testified to the fact that actually the results were comparable. So data were collected about the exam sessions within the 5 last semesters, and the qualities excellence and the absolute excellence of students was comparable to that the students demonstrated during the previous semesters. And the second challenge is actually being tired from virtual space. In our university, it was noticed in the following way. I don't know whether you had similar experience in your universities. What actually happened? In the beginning, everyone was really enthusiastic about the transfer to online learning. This was something new, something unusual, something interesting, and everybody was very enthusiastic. Moreover, the teachers themselves, to some extent, felt the students who weren't too polite, let's say, and weren't really diligent, who during the offline learning never came to classes, they started coming to classes, started to actually participate in the classes. But starting from mid-May, the situation changed radically due to the fact that everybody started complaining for the tiredness, about the tiredness from virtual space and these online classes. Teachers and students started saying that it is hard for them to spend all this time allocated for classes in front of the computer screen. They get tired physically, they get tired psychologically. We also tried to hold discussions about what was happening. Psychologists provided their advice, suggested concepts. Our university also started reacting to this challenge. In particular, we introduced a post of a staff psychologist who monitored the situation, who was constantly available for the students and teachers. Moreover, our psychology chair, the students and teachers had these unloading sessions for students and teachers. We even did some sessions offline in the universities in small groups, if it was allowed by epidemiological situation. And in this way, we tried to give an answer to the second challenge. The following would be the need for quick switch of teaching methodologies. So today it also was said that actually the system of online learning required from a teacher to put in additional effort. The teacher had to arrange all those materials. They had to come up with some new ways for interaction with the students. So what we did in our university, first of all, we started holding a range of workshops. At that time, we had the School of Educational Innovations, and in the framework of that school, it was a resource which allows to hold sessions for teachers in a more systemic way. We did sessions on the way what could be the methods for organizing the study process during online learning. Besides all that, our university actively borrowed the experience of other universities. We observed what was happening abroad. We were open. In particular, we have a platform which is called Mission of a Contemporary University. Within this platform, we did meetings, first of all with our graduates who teach in international universities, for example, in Birmingham University, in the universities of Canada or the States. We shared our experience with them. We also borrowed their experience because we were aware that the situation our university found itself in is very similar to the situation universities all over the world faced. Actually, the analysts from higher education numerously emphasized this aspect. I mean, it wasn't in vain that my colleague and I selected this metaphor for our presentation, building a plane on the fly. This was often voiced in the discussions about the situation of higher education in the pandemic. It was also stressed that both foreign universities, including top universities and Ukrainian universities, found themselves in similar situation and they fight similar problems. That is why we're never shy to talk to our foreign colleagues. Actually, we recommended that and also to share experience because it was noticeable that in some issues we even went farther than our colleagues, which we invited. The following challenge would be the impossibility of full-fledged academic life. And as for this, we feel that in our university, our cultural artistic life, it is very tumultuous, very intensive. We do meetings with our students due to the fact that, I mean, we're at universities, first of all, the formation of outlook. And what do we do in the conditions of the pandemic? Even when we're located not in the red zone, but in orange zone, can only have an online group of 25 people, not more. And what do we do with such meetings? As it is impossible to hold such meetings, we felt how even corporate culture weakens, as well as corporate identity. In particular, a whole range of events which are already traditional in our university, they also introduce a whole cycle of cultural life, like, for example, Halshik competition or recreations, a sports event which always takes place in the end of the academic year. We were forced to postpone those, and apart from all that, we postponed very important meetings in the framework of a forum, which is called Ostroh Forum. It also traditionally takes place every year and is dedicated to national security. We invite very powerful people who are experts in national security. They're also ministers, prime ministers. They participate in this forum, and actually we had to push that all back into the background, as it was impossible to have it in a normal way in our university. The following challenge, which we also felt, is being limited in implementing informational projects and interacting with international partners. The world has closed down. The borders have become almost impenetrable. Even though we live in globalization conditions, we could still feel that the pandemic forced everyone to shut down within their national borders. And we were forced to somehow stop in the implementation of our international projects. In particular, there was one project which is implemented jointly with the partners from Ukraine and other countries. And some events of this project going to be suspended. And apart from all that, there was also another project which we implemented within our fund, which is associated with democratization of Ukraine. And it was very sad because we were completing this project already in the spring of the previous year, and we saved up some funds, and we agreed with Visegrad Fund that we'll be able to use them for the trip of the best students who actively participated in this project to actually abroad, to Poland, and they could hold a conference and discussion with their colleagues from Lublin Catholic University. But again, we had to stop all that. The following challenge is the demand for quick adaptation. I believe that probably our university managed it the best because to some extent an advantage of answers to the challenges of the pandemic was the size of the university. Our university is not big, therefore we were able to very quickly make decisions. These decisions very quickly spread among this academic community, and moreover, from the very beginning, we put in some prerogatives of adaptivity. For example, it would be the schedule, which we have in our university. The schedule is extremely flexible. Almost every week, we can change our schedule. Of course, the dean's office plans a general scheme for the semester, but most components which are put up on the schedule can change week over week. And this allowed us to react. If, for example, a teacher got sick, or, for example, if there were some technical problems in organizing studies in this or that course, or, for example, there was another force majeure, so we were able to quickly adapt this schedule to the situation which was unfolding. So again, the second about quick adaptation, that would actually be the start of academic year 2021. When I was saying we had the swings, like the Ostroh Academy got from orange zone to red zone and back.
We wanted to use this time to the utmost to actually include those subjects which could not be delivered on offline. And I would like to go back to the first challenge, provision of the high quality education. And one of the possible solutions which was offered by the rector's office is to carry out a monitoring of all the courses which are delivered in the university. And the task was to discuss at the councils of the departments and to decide which courses could be offered online and which could be offered online, and also using the flexibility of schedule and using these new approaches which actually gave us an opportunity to deliver courses on campus. We were trying to submerge the student into the subject which cannot be offered on offline. Well, we were trying to deliver those courses while the period when we could deliver courses offline, and then deliver those courses which could be given online. And from the 15th of September, we are going to offer education to the first year students, and we would be happy to start it offline. And we also wanted to engage them into the corporate culture of our university, and so that we can quickly introduce the students to the educational space, adapt them to the university life. That's why we have summoned them and organized quite a large course. We took a technical decision. We actually split them into small groups, and the teachers were working online with one group, and other groups were listening to the lectures using the monitor, the screen, and actually the tutor was working with them. and the tutor was taking care of the technical equipment. They also followed the developments in the audience of the students, and thus we have submerged the first year students into the appropriate educational space, and we understood that it was a very correct solution to adapt them to the new way of lecturing in the university. We understood that we have to blend technologies and the principles which are the basis for the education in the university. As for the technologies, I think this is a simple approach. All the universities were using approximately the same technologies. Google Meet, it was our priorities. In certain cases, when it was convenient for the teacher, or the question has come up, how to carry out the examinations at one of the departments, and they decided to bring the students to different rooms by the Zoom technology. But some of the teachers were using Google Task, but we have the corporate means, and we were able to give the access to the code words which were related to the name of the teacher. And usually the students knew how to enter the Google Meet and get into the appropriate room. As for the management, well, I'd like to give you more detailed information about that. First of all, we have developed instructions, very strict instructions, and we gave those to the teachers, how to organize their lessons. My colleagues were telling that the teachers of senior age were complaining that the universities have introduced some digital discrimination, and they said that they don't want to, or they were not able to master the new digital technologies, but the administration of the universities makes them do it and make them use these technologies, and they considered it was digital discrimination. We didn't have this problem, and all the teachers were able to master all the tools to be able to deliver the lectures online. And quite recently, a couple of months ago, we have carried out a traditional polling of the students and the teachers as to the usage of the modern technologies in the educational process. It was very interesting for us to see the results and to think of how to improve the situation in the university if there is a need to do that. And also, I was pleasantly surprised that the teachers have evaluated their digital competences very high. And in parallel, we have carried out a polling of the students, and the students also gave very high scores to the digital competencies of our teachers. And as for the management, we actually, during these 12 months, made a huge leap as far as the digital document flow is concerned. And we have digitalized a lot of documents which we need for the management processes in the university. Well, we still have to print out certain documents, such as, the lists of scores, or, for example, the cards of reporting for the workload of the teachers. But all of this is being done online. And we have such a presumption, or whatever I call it, and understanding the administration of the university can provide the reports on the basis of these digital documents. And we have improved the quality and the culture of filling in the data into these forms. And it gives us an opportunity to efficiently manage the university in online mode. And again, it is very important to provide a support to our library and to get support from the library. And we have installed the PROS system, and it gives an opportunity for the student to very quickly and efficiently familiarize oneself with the literature which is necessary for the course. And gradually, we were also making a transition of engaging into the system digital books, electronic books. Well, we can provide the private access to these books, and actually we use the identifier of our university. But our library did not have any live visitors, so they focused on development of the system in the libraries. They developed it enormously, and thus they have supported the courses with the literature, methodological support, and it gave an access to the literature available in the library, and it could be used online. As for the principles, first of all, the principle of quality education first. And we have monitored the quality of teaching during this year. And here, two processes have been taking place in our university. Well, we actually had to reset the system of quality education, and we have improved some of our policies as for the quality of education, and it gave us an opportunity to monitor the situation as to where we are able to organize the educational process on a high quality level. And on the other hand, under the extreme conditions, we were testing our system of providing quality education. And the second principle is academic freedom. And we were not limiting our teachers by the means and tools they can use for online education. We understood that there are some specific features of certain subjects. Some of the teachers have better digital competences than others, and they were allowed to use not only the tools offered by the university, but the tools which they knew the best. We also engaged these teachers to participate in our seminars in the School of Educational Innovation so that they would share their knowledge and experience and innovative knowledge methodologies for teaching online, and they would share them with the other teachers. There should be methodological control over carrying out the online courses and lectures. We decided from the very beginning that no matter what, the lessons in the auditorium have to take place, and we should not allow the teachers to copy the text from Wikipedia and send them through Viber to the students, and the students send their answers, and thus they actually give the credit to the students. All the lectures were carried out in accordance with the original schedule of the university, and we have overcome the myth that online education is not really a quality one. And a lot has been said today about the technical support. In our university, it was organized appropriately because we understood that this is a very new approach for the students and the teachers. So we, on a regular basis, were carrying out the seminars, and the technical department, technical support department of the university was working 24 hours a day. And the teachers could visit the center, or if they had problems to organize a lecture online from home, so they could come to these technical support centers, and they could order the hardware for that. And if necessary, the staff of the technical support unit would help the teacher to broadcast the online lecture. And also academic integrity. That was the question which was discussed today several times. And again, this aspect brought this issue to the forefront. We have carried out a number of seminars for the students where we were explaining them how academic integrity is important under these conditions. I have read the comment during the previous discussion, and the question was whether the quality of the qualification works have deteriorated. In our university, these qualification works were submitted at the same level of quality as the pre-lockdown times. And also the principle of caring and community, and it's very important, and we feel it its enormous importance. And Burton Clark said the academy has an unbelievable organization saga. We have a huge corporate identity of our students, and our university was trying all the time to take care about the teachers. And we monitored the situation with the status of health of the teachers, and also we were trying to support this spirit of community. And this period of education demonstrated that the system of online education could be good if it is appropriately developed and constructed. After we have analyzed the results of carrying out the days of science, and now I'm demonstrating you the posters thereof. And the teachers who from different departments were organizing the events, they said that online education helped them a lot because it gave them an opportunity to engage people outside the university. And maybe these people were not able to visit this day of science personally because they are too busy, but they could dedicate a couple of hours during this days of science in online mode. Also, we organized very interesting lectures with which we engaged very well-known scientists. We were using our own resource, our own scientists, but gradually this project has become international because the science from other countries also took part in this project and lectured online to our universities. If we talk about the problems and perspectives, first of all, the problem was the internet coverage and internet communication. Some students were working from their own cities, and they did not have a good opportunity to use the internet. Or sometimes students were manipulating. They were saying we cannot, get a connection, and they were trying to use this excuse not to attend the lectures. And we quite often also face the techno stress, so to say, the fatigue from the new technologies. And also, we also had to restructure our work in the laboratories and how to carry out the practical studies. But we have a social humanitarian profile of our of the university, so the laboratories did not affect us that much. But also, we use the corporate, mailboxes of our academy to provide the safety and security. As for the future, the perspective, well, the future development of the online education will become very important in the future. The digital competences of the teachers have increased enormously. We saw it during this year. And the students and the faculty understood that the offline education is a luxury. And the question could be put, what pandemic taught us and which lessons we can learn? And there are several lessons. First of all, we were able to respond to global challenges, and we did it very efficiently. Secondly, we learned how to use the experience of online education for the blended projects. If we look at the strategy of Ostroh Academy, well, we have implemented 2 items, implemented of blending learning and increasing of the digital competencies of the teachers. Also, thirdly, we felt that the mission of our university, especially under these conditions, is very strong. And that's why I believe that pandemic was a challenge, but at the same time, the university learned how to overcome these challenges and give very strong responses to these challenges. Thank you very much for your attention. The tradition which shapes the future is the slogan of our university, a logo of our university. Thank you very much for joining this presentation and gave us an opportunity to share the experience of our university. And now we are going to start a Q&A session, and if you have questions, I will be able to read them and give the answers. Well, I can see that there are comments, not that much questions, but the comments. But the only question is, and how the teachers can take the courses of teaching excellency for the teachers who do not work in this university. We have a school of innovation in teaching, and you can familiarize yourself with these courses in our webpage. And we do provide the courses not only to our own faculty, but other teachers who work at various universities. We have the courses for organization of the courses under the online mode and academic integrity courses, and you are welcome and join this project. Thank you very much for your attention. We do not have that much time. I'm going to read your comments, and I was very pleased to share our experience with you and the fact that you have joined this discussion. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Dear participants, so this is how very gradually we have come to the end of the first day of our forum. And I hope that the participants from other rooms who viewed cases have already joined us and will have the chance to have a short summary of what were useful, interesting things we had the first day of the forum. So I'll remind you that today we were the participants of two panel discussions. The first one was professional development of a university teacher, key players, where we had the chance to communicate with the representatives of the Ministry of Education and the representative of the National Agency for Quality Assurance, and also with the representatives of the universities themselves, and talk who plays the key role in improving teaching excellence. The second panel was more about the teachers. Its participants who were the teachers who participated in Teaching Excellence Program, Transformation of Teaching, Challenges and Opportunities, where we talked about the tools, the challenges, and also about the quality, the teaching quality. So the perk of our forum is that all participants of the forum are the participants of the program. These are real, living teachers of the universities who share their achievements and certain losses, which share their experience, which they acquired in a year and which they acquired thanks to the program of teaching excellence. But on this, of course, we're not going to finish tomorrow. We're in for the sequel and the second day of the forum. Also, as far as what should we be talking about? Today we talked a lot about the students as the main stakeholders of the educational process. So we'll try to listen to the students themselves. We'll try to discuss with the students, understand what kind of challenges were there for the students in this challenging time. So as you have just guessed, tomorrow we are also in for a discussion. Teacher and student, how do you build efficient interaction? Apart from the panel discussion as such, we also have planned lots of other activities. In particular, there are workshops from our British colleagues and also workshops from our Ukrainian colleagues. We are going to talk to you about online instruments which might be used both by students and teachers in their educational activities. So all this is there so that we understood that distance learning, the situation we have found ourselves in during the previous year, that's not a challenge. That's our opportunity, which we can use, and which was used by the participants of our program. What we actually shared about today and what we are going to keep talking about tomorrow when the forum continues, the forum dedicated to teaching excellence. So, colleagues, I invite you tomorrow to join us traditionally on the website of the forum and also on social networks. On Facebook, there is a live broadcast. There's a live broadcast on YouTube, and also one of the advantages for often forum being online, we can always watch the recordings and remind ourselves what we talked about. So we are not saying goodbye. We say see you tomorrow. Stay in touch. Leave your comments on the website of the forum. We'll come back to them for sure. And goodbye for now.